Blog Talk Radio.
Shema Yisrael, Yahuwah Eloheinu, Yahuwah Achad. Shalom, this is Brother Jason of the Hand of Yah Ministries, where the name of Yahuwah is proclaimed. And I want to thank Sal Showtime for allowing the Heavenly Father to use him and his show, Debate Talk for You, as a meeting place for people around the world to hear scriptural truth. If this show has been a blessing in your life as it has been in mine, send a donation to the ministry and support the work. Keep up the good work, Sal, and may Yahuwah bless us all.
Out here in Birmingham, UK, we stay tuned to that Debate Talk for You radio show. Just want to shout out my man Sal and all the other hosts. Make sure you keep it locked right here from the Express Truth. Peace.
Greatness attracts greatness. Talk with the Titans host here, Callum L. And you're now locked into Debate Talk for You Radio.
Shalom Aleichem Israel. This your brother Zadok Ben Israel, assistant teacher at the Congregation of Israel, the Knesset of Jesus, located in Buffalo, New York. We believe in the full uncut word of God from Genesis to Revelation, and we seek to share the truth that the Holy Spirit has witnessed to us. So if you are interested in finding out more about our ministry, please visit us at www.congregationisrael.net. You can also find our teachings on YouTube under my namesake, youtube.com/Zadok Ben Israel. We also have a page, Knesset Yeshua, KNESSETYSHUA. You can also find us on Blog Talk Radio every Tuesday, 8 p.m. Eastern, on the Growing Stone Bible Study Show. Go to blogtalkradio.com/Nazarene. And if you feel you just want to reach out and talk to us personally, call us 866-78-BIBLE. Shalom, and we look forward to hearing from you.
Holy greetings to you all. This is Minister DeAndre from Heirs of the Promise Ministries. It's been a while since the Debate Talk for You artist has heard from me. That's because on this year, April 8th, 2015, I was diagnosed with acute lymphoblastic leukemia, also called ALL. And also, I found out I had a chromosome called the Philadelphia chromosome, which meant I would have to have a stem cell bone marrow transplant. Well, through the Be The Match registry, worldwide registry, the doctors did find me a 100% unrelated donor, and I had that stem cell bone marrow transplant on July 18th of this year. And I'm proud to say, through the grace and mercy and healing power of the Most High, I am cancer-free. Hallelujah. Now I need you guys, the Debate Talk for Your audience, to go to my GoFundMe account, gofundme.com/QZ4SEBVC. That's gofundme.com/QZ4SEBVC and give a donation, and I would appreciate it, your love and support. I'm looking forward to coming minister to you guys in the near future. Peace and blessings to you all.
I come to you today in peace. My name is Emunah Yisrael, recent author of The Angry Quote-Unquote Black Woman Syndrome Revisited, Volume 1, Her Mind. It is a hot new piece all about the mind of the quote-unquote angry black woman. How does she operate in this society? How has slavery affected her? Just opening up really a 200-plus-year-old stereotype. So if you haven't taken a look as yet, go ahead over to www.emunahyisrael.com and you can definitely check that out. Or you can just go to Amazon and look up Angry Black Woman Syndrome Revisited and see us there. You can check me on all social media, Twitter, Facebook, Periscope, YouTube, everything under Emunah Yisrael. So until next time, thank you for tuning in and definitely be the change that you desire to see in the world. One.
That dial. You're now listening to Debate Talk Free Radio.
All praises, all honor, all glory to the supreme intellect of the universe. This is Nasi Yashuvel of Shomrei HaTorah in Atlanta. And if I'm not reading my Torah or suplexing some false deity, I'm listening to my man, Sal Showtime, and Debate Talk for You Radio. Beautiful. Keep doing the good work, brother, bringing forth the information and spreading that love.
Greetings from the I Love Being Black movement. We have the largest black Facebook page with over 6 million fans worldwide, and we're offering advertising options at affordable rates. If you want to increase your reach with loads of new fans, then this is absolutely the best way. We also offer seminars, consultations, and strategic planning services by Kumi Raouf, aka the Social Strategist. Why not contact us today at ilovebeingblack.com or call us at 310-807-5775. Cheers.
This is Renald Francoeur representing from Atlanta, Georgia. And when I'm not busy in the studio, I'm checking out Debate Talk for You Radio. Keep up the great work, Sal Showtime.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? How you guys doing? Welcome to another show. You're now listening to Season 6 of Debate Talk Free Radio. Of course, I'm your host, Sal Showtime, and we are back with another classic show for you guys. Well, once again, it is Monday, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. You know what that is. That means it's time for the Relationship Challenge segment of Debate Talk for You. And, of course, it's been going pretty strong so far. We got a lot of positive feedback from the people out there. That's a brand new segment. So far, I believe this is Volume 7 of this particular segment. And today's show is entitled Interracial Relationships. That's right, people. Once again, today's show is entitled Interracial Relationships. I actually decided to pick this topic myself, interracial relationships. I believe we need to have a civil dialogue about it. And, of course, we want to hear from the people out there that's listening on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. You know that number, 646-716-7320. And do me a favor, if you're inside a group, do me a favor, share on your personal page and let people know that Debate Talk for You is live and on the air. And, of course, make sure you attach that number. This is the show where you listen to the audience can chime in and call in live with your questions, your comments. The only rule that I have is that there's no foul language. Got to keep it clean, keep it professional. People listening in with the children and even the elderly out here, people listening with their families. So, again, we're going to keep it clean, keep it professional, but we do like the crowd participation on Debate Talk Radio. All right, so my co-host, Emunah, where you at? Person number 1, if you're out there. Person number 1. Let me see where you. Oh, there she go. All right, this is my co-host, Emunah. Welcome to the show.
Greetings, Sal. All praises be to the Most High, the Holy One of creation. Greetings to you, Brother Sal. Greetings to everyone who is tuning in at this point and all of our guests that will be on shortly. How are you today?
I'm doing pretty good. Are you ready for this particular topic right here? Interracial relationships. Are you ready?
Yeah, you picked the winner here, Sal. You picked the winner.
Yeah, you know. Yeah, you know. Yeah, of course. Got a lot of feedback on social media about this one, and a lot of people tuning in. We appreciate that. Of course, people overseas, international listeners out there, we appreciate you guys in the UK, overseas, checking out the show. Some people are actually waking up. It's a morning show for some people that's tuning into the Baseball Talk for You. So we appreciate you guys waking up early in the morning, getting your pen and pad ready and taking down some notes, getting this information and knowledge. But let me go to the panel and introduce the special guest so far. My first special guest, this is Bro.Jerrel. Bro.Jerrel, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Peace and blessings to all that are here today, and I hope that those that believe in the God of the Bible will be strengthened, and those that have doubts will be moved to careful consideration to reconsider their position.
All right, once again, we appreciate you being here live at the Debate Talk Radio. Anything you want to inform the people about, any projects, anything coming up, or you just want to get right into it? You can do that now. Let the people know.
We can get right into it. I just like to say that I do have a YouTube channel that I just started. I think I got about 20 videos. I'm a general contractor and proud to be a black man in America, because a lot of people will say that, hey, black people are inferior, or we can't do this and we can't do that. And I always looked at that as a challenge. And it was such a challenge that unlike most general contractors, if you were going to do a commercial project, you'd have to hire a plumber to do the plumbing work. You'd have to hire an electrician to do the electrical work. You'd have to hire a heating and air guy to do all these works, because they required special licenses that you had to get training and tested for. Unlike the generals that I know, I'm one of maybe a handful of guys that I know that actually went to school and studied and took tests to be a licensed electrician, to be a heating and air contractor, and to be a plumber. So I tell everybody I can do all things through Christ. He gives me strength. And James chapter 1, verse 5 tells us that, for somebody to submit to Christ, all the treasures of knowledge and wisdom become available to you. So it's on that basis that I tell my brothers that, you want to throw the Bible, the God of the Bible, in the garbage. That's the opportunity for you to actually realize, your true potential. And I'm a babe in Christ. I've been following and obeying that God of the Bible to the best of my ability for about 22 years. And I would just say I'm 51 years old. The last 22 years are the best years of my whole life. And, I just tell everybody, don't give up, be encouraged. All things are going to work together for good. And I think this is going to be proven out in today's interaction. I think we're going to really have a good interaction today.
All right, man, I appreciate you, man. Just do me a favor. I hear some stuff in the background, from your background. Just put the, press the mute button. And, whenever it's time for your time, time to talk, then we'll add you in, But I appreciate you being on the panel, brother. Appreciate you being here. Let's go to the next special guest. Let's go to Ahwar The Swordsman. Ahwar The Swordsman, what's going on, brother? How you feeling?
What's going on, brother? Big Sal, shalom to Bro.Jerrel. How you doing, my brother? My beloved sister, good to hear your voice again. I'm glad to be on this panel.
All right, man. I'm always asking you, man, what you got going on? Anything you want to let people know about before we begin? You can go ahead.
Yeah, watch out for that show. It's going to be fire. The Real New World Order is coming. I'm doing some shows, building it up. So I'm going to put out a series. It's going back to back. So it's going to be on maybe about the next week. It's going to be on YouTube, so check it out.
All right, that's Ahwar The Swordsman right here, the Debate Talk Radio. We appreciate the brother. Of course, let's go to Sister Mayanah, straight out of Brooklyn. What's going on, Mayanah? How you doing?
Hey, shalom, I hold it down in Brooklyn, that's right. Shalom, family, salutations, mi gente. Greetings to all my siblings on the panel. All praises to the Most High, our Father. May whatever we drop today be to His glory.
I have to ask you as well, anything that you want to let the people know before we begin, anything you have going on, you can let the people know now, or we can continue the show.
Okay, Hasaferet, Mayanah, I'm putting together a few written instruments for the people. There will be a audio-visual component that's coming out through. The website is in construction, so you can go ahead and look out for that in the coming months.
All right, that's Sister Mayanah right there, Debate Talk Radio. And last but not least, we have a special guest here. Actually, everybody knows has been following Debate Talk for You. We had ISUPK, several members of ISUPK on Debate Talk Radio inside the Lions Den and things of that nature, presenting lessons. And we have a special guest tonight right here on Debate Talk for You for the people for this particular topic. We have Tazaryach right here on Debate Talk Radio. Welcome to the show, my brother.
Hey, peace, shalom, brother. Shalom to the people on the panel. I didn't get all of y'all names, so I'll just say shalom to y'all. Peace. We say Yahweh Shema, Thumba Shem Yahweh Shah to the sisters, and Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shah Rakatah to the brothers, which means the Lord, in the name of Christ, bless you for the brothers, and the Lord watch over you in the name of Christ for the sisters. It's a pleasure to be on your show. I believe this is my first time, but like you said, ISUPK have been on the show a couple of times, so I appreciate you having me on, brother.
Yeah, most definitely, most definitely. Anything you want to let the people know, any upcoming events or something like that before we begin, you can inform the people of that.
No sweat, I appreciate it. We have the Passover coming up April 23rd, which will be in Harlem, New York. Anybody in the area or out the area, if you want to travel and come through and drink some wine and eat some lamb and some bitter herb with us, you're more than welcome to come and fellowship with us, you know what I mean, in the spirit of brotherhood and sisterhood as well. I am working on a lecture. As you know, I'm not sure if you know or not. I did a lecture in February on homosexuality and attack on the black household, which is actually on YouTube right now. I am in the midst of coming up with another one. I just haven't. I like to deal with topics that are affecting us in 2016 as opposed to, you know, a lot of the, you know, usual subject matter. So I am thinking about one, which is what made me want to do this particular subject as well, to see if this is something I would like to do a lecture on. So that's what we have, the Passover coming up April 23rd, and of course I'll keep you informed on anything we got coming up outside of that.
All right, man. That's my brother right there, Tazaryach, from the ISUPK on the panel for the first time on Debate Talk Radio. All right, so rules and regulations. It's everybody just to avoid noise, you know, in the background of you know, mute your mics. Of course, Emunah's going to call everybody in. She's going to call you by name to, you know, interact and you know, speak on this particular topic. And Emunah, you can go ahead. What I'm going to do is I'm going to get on social media, of course, and interact with the people out there on social media. And of course, I'm in charge of the phone lines. You know, the callers out there if you want to chime in. I see people pressing number 1 already, as usual. Pressing number 1 already, but stand by. I'm going to bring you guys in later on. And by the way, the chat room is officially open, guys. The chat room is open. You have to go to www.blogtalkradio.com/Debate Talk for You. Click on the show, the Interracial Relationship, TRC Volume 7, Interracial Relationship. And when you scroll down at the bottom, you're going to see a little box there where you can interact with me or anybody that's inside the chat room. All right, Emunah, you can take it away.
All right. Once again, I want to thank everybody for tuning in. This is Emunah Yisrael, and I will kind of be your moderator while Sal is holding it down on social media. So once again, to all the panelists and for those who listen, welcome. All praise be to the Most High. Now, as Sal said, he's the one who picked the topic and is really broad, interracial relationships. Last week we went on social media. It was an excellent place to get to poll the people. So I actually put out a poll in one of the groups. I found it interesting because the answers were so mixed. And then I'm going to say my piece and definitely open up the floor. The question was, are mixed/interracial marriages sinful according to the Bible? There was 13 people who said yes, 5 people who said no, 5 said depends, 3 said no, and 1 said some nations. And then there was a whole back and forth dialogue of scripture flinging, and, you know, it got kind of turned up. So I found out that was very interesting, the angle of which there's some who says yes and there's some who says no and depends. So I'm going to open it up to say, firstly, that the broadness of the title interracial relationships, if we look according to the Bible, it's more national than it is racial. And according to my studies, race is a modern construct, not necessarily what the Torah is speaking about, because all of the people at that space and time would have been melanated. I just think that for the listening audience, that's important to bring up, because when we went into the land, the 7 nations greater and mightier than us were melanated people. So it wasn't necessarily because of your skin tone. It had to do with your culture, traditions, the deities that you worship, your value systems, and your laws. So that was just something that I wanted to preface a little bit because of the broadness of the topic and the fact that oftentimes we tend to hone in on black and white, as it is where we pick up on the other side of the Atlantic post-slavery. And so just for my personal standpoint on looking at this conversation, definitely the listeners and the panelists can go into the direction that they so desire, because usually we have a more streamlined topic, but today it's so broad, we might get a whole lot of opinions, or hopefully Torah. One more thing is also to bring up that interracial marriages, we also had tribal marriages and national marriages, and this is something that because we are destroyed and we don't know who we are, sometimes for me, just listening to conversations that was seen on social media, it's beyond our understanding of why it's important to have intertribal or international within the nation of Israel. So hopefully we'll be able to discover some of the importance of why even the daughters of Lapidot, not the daughters of Lapidot, the daughters, the 7 that came to Moshe concerning their father, and they got the directives that they were supposed to marry in their tribe. Why was that important? Hopefully we'll be able to go over that. One more thing I wanted to say before I go ahead and open up the floor and give it over to Sister Mayanah is I wanted to say what our foremother said. Actually, there's actually 2 things. One of our foremothers, Raquel, in the 38th chapter of Genesis, 34 and 8, concerning what was happening with Esau, she said this concerning the mixed marriages of another melanated people. It's 34 and 8. That's Shechem. She was talking to her husband concerning what was going on with Esau and him marrying the daughters of Het. And she said to him, if Jacob grows up and marries them, what would her life be? I think that's very important to look at, because they weren't concerned with the color of their skin. They were actually more concerned with the fact that they were of the daughters of the land. And these daughters of the land, it's actually 27, and I'll read it in the way in which she said it. And Rebekah said to Isaac, I am weary of my life because of the daughters of Het. If Yaakov take a wife of the daughters of Het, such as these which are of the daughters of the land, what good shall my life do me? So if we're talking about interracial, international marriages, marrying into different nations, our foremother said at that space and time that this is not a good thing. We also see Abraham saying to his servant Eliezer, please, 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 do not get a daughter from around here for my son. And it was good to be noted that the man traveled over 550 miles. This is when I looked at how far it was from Beersheba to Haran, it was a good distance. He didn't go to the corner store. He didn't go to Walmart. He traveled a long distance to make sure that he did not interracially or internationally marry with those in and around them. So with that, I just wanted to bring up those notes to open up the conversation, and hopefully we can go in a good direction. So, Sister Mayanah, the mic is yours.
Okay, sis, thank you for giving me such a good springboard to pop in on. Ken, the first thing that you mentioned was the notion of miscegenation, which is race mixing versus mixing between nations. And right now, as you mentioned, sisters and brothers are very caught up on these terminologies and therefore are having difficulty reconciling what Torah standards are versus what they have become familiar with in their own experiences. And I say often that one can only be as intelligent as their frame of reference. So if we can't first separate ourselves from the vocabulary that has been given to us, in order to embrace the terms that are being presented from the perspective of Torah, so we can understand what needs to be done. And what you mentioned in terms of having to marry within our own branches, those branches being the 12, this is what's known in anthropology as endogamy. We were an endogamous people. We want very badly to get caught up on, this sounds racist or that sounds racist. Understand this, Israel had a preference for their own branch, let alone other nations. It's not a matter of we're going to hold back because you look a certain way or you are a particular hue. We had other interests. You brought up the 5 daughters of Zelophehad, who become women of property. And the men of Manasseh became very concerned about that property leaving the branch, so that other branches would be enlarged, and that their borders would be enlarged by these marriages. This idea that the marriages between the daughters of Israel, irrespective of their branches, or specifically due to their branches, is an important thing not to be overlooked, because we find that these admonishments against intermarriage throughout these nations have to do with the exchange of daughters. It's, in recalling it, we might want to be tempted to say, we were not to give our sons or daughters to these other nations, as if it were a sort of even exchange. However, the concern was never whether or not the sons went into other nations. It's always, we will not give our daughters. We won't take your daughters. You can't have our daughters. The only thing moving in this exchange are the women. This determination of, I'm not sending my daughter to this other nation to give away this important resource. We understood our human capital as a way of remaining particular and a way of being holy and set apart to the Most High. And what we don't exchange are our women. Our men did not give away the daughters, neither did we receive daughters from other nations. We find that in Ezra 9:14, we find it in Deuteronomy 7:4, we find it in Genesis 34. Genesis 34, when Shechem, the men of Shechem, decide that they want to, Hamor goes on behalf of his son and says, give us your daughters, take our daughters, so that we can become one people. Somehow this exchange between women, that's the human capital of females, exchanging, they believe that to be one people. Our admonishment in Ezra is that we're not going to be like them. Ezra tells us, I'll tell you what Ezra tells us now. It says, so now do not give your daughters to their sons, neither take their daughters to your sons, and never seek their peace or their prosperity, that you might be strong, eat the good things. So this idea of remaining within our branches, keeping our daughters home, not exchanging our women, not obviously the women not giving themselves for exchange, all had to do with the preservation of the set apartness of our people. The purpose is to be set apart unto the Most High. This is a positive. There's this idea there are positive and negative rules in our laws. There are the positive and there are the negative. This is a positive prohibition. This is so that these good things will happen to you. It is not a negative right against them. It is a positive preservation for us. This is why we do these things. Because by doing so, when we export our women and we marry outside of our nation, we weaken our nation. We give away important and valuable resources. And that is not what we want to do. This has nothing to do with race mixing or whether or not we want to dislike a particular race. This has to do with the Most High said, you are a set apart people unto me, and for you to be preserved in this way so that good things can continue to happen to you. This is a matter of preserving inheritance. This is a matter of preserving boundaries. This is a matter of keeping your daughters home. Your children will not be turned away from me. This is a matter of preservation. This is not a punitive measure against other people. So we need to stop being guilted into wanting to preserve who we are. It's countercultural to stigmatize the preservation of a people.
All
with
right.
that, I yield.
All right. Thank you. For those who are new on the panel, we usually kind of open up with our thoughts on the conversation, and then we go from there. It's kind of a round table. And so definitely feel welcome. At this point, I'm going to go over to Brother Ahwar The Swordsman. Brother Ahwar, how are you? The topic is interracial marriages. What say you, Brother Ahwar?
Yes. Excuse me. Yeah, good topic. I just want to say this first. This is one of the topics that why people choose to do the Watusi in the church and not read the book. This is one of the topics that people hate the Bible, this topic here. So I'm going to go in, I'm going to see what the Lord said. Well, the first thing I want to cover is the Lord's will. What was his will? What was his plan? I'm going to go to Genesis right quick. Genesis 1, verse 21. It said, the Most High created great whales, every living creature that moveth, which the waters brought forth abundantly after their time. So the Most High had a plan. He made everything after its kind. Okay? Then it says, and every winged fowl after his kind, and the Most High saw that it was good. And the Most High blessed them, saying, be fruitful and multiply, and fill the waters in the seas, and let the fowls multiply in the earth. Then it says, and the evening and the morning were the fifth day. Then it says, and the Most High said, let the earth bring forth the living creature after his kind. So you see that pattern? The Most High created things in a pattern, after its kind, after its pedigree or its species. Okay? But we're going to read on. We're going to show how this got disturbed. What was the plan of the Lord? Then it says, the Most High said, let the earth bring forth the living creature after its kind, cattle, creeping things, beasts of the earth after his kind, and it was so. The Most High made the beasts of the earth after his kind, and cattle after their kind, and everything that creep upon the earth after his kind. And the Most High saw that it was good. And the Most High said, let us make man in our image. So the Most High had a plan. He had a blueprint on how he did things. He made everything after his kind. So I just wanted to establish that. Now I'm going to go to Deuteronomy 22, and then we're going to go into later how we find out that interracial marriages is a sin. I'm going to prove that too. But this is Deuteronomy 22, just to show how the Most High does everything in instruction. Deuteronomy 22, verse 9 says, thou shalt not sow thy vineyard with diverse seeds. There's an order when you plant seeds. This is why the Most High brought this law. The Most High is very organized. So he's even telling you when you plant your seeds, they got to be organized. You don't put roses with daffodils or roses with lilies. You put roses with roses. You put lilies with lilies. You put this type of plant with that plant. So I'm showing you the Most High had an order and instruction. Then it says, I'm going to jump to the 11th verse. It says, thou shalt not wear a garment of diverse sorts. Even your clothes is not supposed to be intermingled. Okay? If your clothes is cotton, 100% cotton. Or is this material where you're not even supposed to intermingle your clothing. Now, the question is, why have this great structure and order been disturbed? What happened? Okay? Let me read this right quick. I'm not going to be that long. This is the wisdom of Solomon in the scriptures. Okay? The wisdom of Solomon, 2 verse 23. Why did man disobey? What was behind the disobeying of man? This is the wisdom of Solomon, 2 verse 23. For the Most High created man to be immortal and made him to be an image of his eternity. It just said that in Genesis. Then it said, nevertheless, through envy of the devil came death into the world. What is this death? A part of this death is the intermingling of different races, everything that was disorder that the Most High already started and created. Okay? So this spirit, this demon called Satan, got in the minds of men and disrupted the Father's order. And I'm going to read this last scripture. I'm going to come back later and to prove where interracial marriage started. This is Genesis, right quick. I'm going to go Genesis, the 6th chapter. Genesis, the 6th chapter, starting at 1. It says, and it came to pass when men began to multiply on the face of the earth, and daughters were born unto them, that the sons of the Most High, that's what we were called before we got our father's name, Israel. We were called the sons of the Most High. It says that the sons of the Most High saw the daughters of men, that they were fair, and they took them wives of all which they chose. And the Lord said, my spirit shall not always strive with man, for that he also is flesh, yet his days shall be 120 years. So that's when it started, the interracial, us mingling with these different nations. So I'm not going to hog the mic as we further go on. I'm going to prove that that's a sin and it's disobedient to the Creator to mingle with other nations. That's it.
All right, now that's the voice of Brother Ahwar The Swordsman. We want to thank him. He's back every week, and he just jumped on. He was like, I'm not even going to play. I'm just putting it out there. So Brother Ahwar brought some scriptures. I want to thank you for that, Brother Ahwar, because right now we have people listening. We have many different doctrines. Like I said, we ran a poll on more than one place, and people are really confused as to what is this about? Is it really a sin? Is it not? So I'm going to go ahead and give Bro.Jerrel, it's his first time on the show. I want to give him an opportunity to open up a little bit about his standpoint on interracial marriages as we go around this round table. Bro.Jerrel, the mic is yours.
Thank you for giving me the mic. I wish I had an opportunity to talk to Brother Ahwar with his position, but I think he and I are going to be bumping heads because from the beginning,
God had intended that we all remained of one blood, but we can see during the Tower of Babel story, God had intended for us to fill the earth. We were supposed to go out and fill the earth, and we started doing our own thing, and it goes back to that story of Cain and Abel, where Cain decided to create his own offering, even though God had, laid down the prescribed ritual that he was to follow. Abel's offering was received and accepted, but Cain's wasn't. So Cain, killing his brother Abel, he goes off and does his thing, and Adam and Eve have to make a replacement to hopefully create this continuation of the hope of the promise that was to be fulfilled in the Messiah. Now, what I wanted to show was that when we look in Exodus chapter 12, verse 38, this is right before the angel of death came into Egypt and destroyed the firstborn. And it wasn't just the firstborn of mankind. It was the firstborn of all the animals and everything that was living in Egypt. And the only thing that was going to prevent the destruction of the firstborn was for this ritual procedure to take place. Now, if we read in Exodus 12, verse 48, we'll see that shortly after the angel of death makes his visitation and kills off all of these people, that two that left with the Hebrew children, the slaves, was a mixed multitude. And I'm just going to kind of just imagine it, and if you could imagine along with me, the context of, here it is, you have these Hebrew people declaring to the Egyptian Pharaoh, and he's kind of like a god incarnate ruling over these slaves, but he's been demonstrated to have no real power to overthrow these Hebrews' God. But a lot of people would be contemplating and thinking, well, here it is, we have this God that we can't overthrow, but here it is, we were able to enslave these peoples and have them be our servants. So it gets to a point where you start to see and understand how when God talks about that he's not a respecter of persons and things like this, that you are able to look and see more closely and carefully just how loving and good God is. Because the people, and I'm pretty sure that there were some Egyptians who may have even lost children during this, the first Passover with the angel of death. And so it got to a point where we see in another story in 2 Kings chapter 5, verse 10, where Naaman, he was the captain of the army of the king of Syria. He was stricken with leprosy, but his wife had a Hebrew slave girl who told the captain, hey, my God could heal you of this leprosy if only you would go down and, speak to the prophet. He's in Samaria. You need to go visit him. And sure enough, he goes down, and Elisha doesn't even meet the man. Elisha knows what he's there for, so he sends his butler out to talk to the captain, and the captain gets mad. But ultimately, long story short, he does what Elisha tells him to do, and he returns back to Syria, declaring that there's no other God running the show on this earth but the king or the God of the Hebrews. So God is actually showing in so many ways that he is not really concerned so much with the ethnicity. He's concerned with anybody who's willing to seek him for a solution to the problem of sin, to the solution of a problem, of any problem that you have. Because the Bible says, hey, he sees the sparrow fall on the ground. If he could see that, don't you think he cares a lot about you? And what I would say, and I said it earlier, that in James chapter 1, verse 5, God basically tells that, I'm going to read it for you here because I scrolled it, or I loaded it up on my computer here. James chapter 1, verse 5, where he says, here it is, James chapter 1, verse 5. And y'all forgive me, I'm a little nervous. It's my first time being a guest, and I always say, man, I listen to the show, and I say to myself, man, I could talk and express myself, but it is definitely a far cry when you actually are given the opportunity. But I just ask you guys to pray that God would just give me the strength to make my point plain. But in James 1...
Your family, bro. Don't be nervous.
Yeah, praise God. So in James chapter 1, verse 5, and I'm reading from the New English Translation, he says, but if anyone is deficient of wisdom, he should ask God, who gives all generously without reprimand, and it will be given unto him. There's another translation where he says that God, if anybody should ask God for wisdom, all they got to do is ask, and he'll give it to them. And to me, it's proof when you go to the university and you see all of the wonderful things that godless, atheistic professors are able to accomplish. They are tacitly going to a place where they're looking for knowledge and wisdom, and God doesn't hold back knowledge and wisdom. He lets them learn and understand to the limit of what their imagination will allow. Now, we can read in Colossians chapter 2, verses 1 through 4, where we see that Paul makes the declaration that treasures of knowledge are hidden in Christ. So if you want true knowledge and wisdom, for you as an atheist to deny Christ, you've cut yourself off from the true treasures of knowledge and wisdom. But getting back to our topic of discussion, we can see in Exodus chapter 12, verse 48, the people who came out in the mixed multitude, they were going to be as one. In fact, that was what was actually a part of the passage where they would be as one. And then Joshua chapter 5, verses 5, Nehemiah 13, verses 3, and Jeremiah 9:25, they also echo the same thing, where all of these people who weren't, quote unquote, of the Hebrew blood and nationality, they were going to actually be accepted. And I know in some previous episodes of Debate Talk, Brother Josh actually talked about how the same vows that the Israelites took, Moses pointed out that those same vows that the people who were not of the true circumcision, they would actually, those blessings would be enjoyed by their descendants, as well as the curses should they not, keep their end of the bargain as God had determined them to do. So I just would say that, God definitely doesn't deny the white man who is just sick and tired of seeing the way the world is rolling, and he basically wants to submit himself and his whole family to the will and obedience of the God of the Bible. It would be kind of stupid and really wouldn't be logical or reasonable for anybody to deny this, hypothetical white person from enjoying the blessings and benefits, because God says, hey, if you want something, I will give it to you. But do you really want it? So with that, I yield the floor, and I hope I'm able to make my point.
All right. Thank you, Brother Jerrel. Brother Jerrel came in. He said, he can't. This is going to be definitely interesting. We have some very important views. I think so far we have some definition, some broadening of the scope, and then we have the thought process that Israel is a melting pot. This is kind of what I'm receiving. I could be wrong, but as we come around the next round after the opening, we'll definitely be able to ask each other questions, because I have some questions for Brother Jerrel as well concerning the thoughts that he just said. But before I do so, I'm going to go ahead and give it over to Brother Tazaryach. Welcome to the show, definitely. And as an opener, what would you like to say on the topic of interracial relationships in Israel?
I appreciate you letting me have an opportunity to speak on the subject. And, the thought process that everybody gave, I thought was very insightful. I'd like to point out when the sister said that it wasn't about a black or white thing. I may paraphrase it wrong, but it wasn't about a hatred for another nation as much as it was about us sticking together. Also, the other brother that brought out Genesis, the 6th chapter, which I've rarely heard people actually pull that out, because that's exactly what the Lord destroyed the earth for, which if you were to break it down in the most simplistic form, it was interracial marriage, which is what destroyed us. And that's the lesson that, unfortunately, that we have not learned. When you're dealing with the interracial aspect, now us on this phone are predominantly Israelites, so we understand that method. But when you're teaching people in the world that may not subscribe to the Bible, you have to look at it for both ways. So for my opening, like there's a biblical aspect and there's a worldly aspect, if you were to use that phrase. So for my opening, I'll just use it from a biblical standpoint. If you start at Deuteronomy, the 7th chapter, the brother already did Genesis, the 6th chapter. The sister already brought out Rebecca, but she did not want Jacob to deal with anybody but someone from her kin, someone from her kind. So when you go to Deuteronomy, the 7th chapter, it's real plain why we're not supposed to mix with other nations. It has nothing to do with whether another nation is ugly. It has nothing to do with they're pretty, whether they got wealth, whether they got power, whether they got poor. It has nothing to do with any of that. The reason why, when you read Deuteronomy 7:2, it says, and when the Most High thy power shall deliver thee before them, thou shalt smite them and utterly destroy them, and thou shalt make no covenant with them. Verse 3 says, neither shalt thou make marriages with them. Thy daughter shalt thou not give unto a son, nor his daughter shalt thou take unto thy son. And this is the most important reason why. Verse 4 says, for they will turn away thy son from following me, that they may serve other gods. When you think about the reason why we're in this very condition today, it's because of our servitude of other gods. When you look at the history, I know the brother mentioned Nehemiah. Nehemiah was just as upset as Ezra was when it came to us dealing with the Ammonites and the Moabites. If I'm not mistaken, Nehemiah is the one that pulled his beard out when he saw them. And he didn't get mad at them because the Ammonites looked better than the Israelites. He got mad because they wasn't no longer speaking Hebrew. They were speaking Moabitish language or Ammonitish language. We lose our very culture when we mix with these other nations. If you go to the book of Tobit 4:12, Tobit 4:12 says, beware of all whoredom, my son, and chiefly take a wife of the seed of thy fathers, and take not a strange woman to wife, which is not of thy father's tribe. For we are the children of the prophets, Noah, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Remember, my son, that our fathers from the beginning, even they all married wives of their own kindred, and were blessed in their children, and their seed shall inherit the land. The theme throughout the Bible, like the Bible is like the greatest book ever written, and it's our history book. It's our history book. It's our culture. It's our learning. That's why Romans 15:4 says, whatsoever was written aforetime was written for our learning, that through patience and comfort of the scriptures we might have hope. So when we're dealing with this very topic, we have a great history book to understand whether we should follow this or whether we shouldn't follow it. So when you look at the examples of interracial dating, if you take Samson, for example, Samson was one of the strongest men on the planet, but he chose to marry a woman of another nation and lost his power because he dealt with that woman. And then that woman was able to seduce him. That woman was able to get him to turn. And his parents were upset by that. When you go to the wisest man on the face of the planet, Solomon, as wise as he was, what was his mistake? Marrying outside of his race. Because what happened? As wise as he was, a woman is very enticing. Like, if we keep it honest, the Bible in 2nd Ezra, the 3rd chapter, the 48th verse, I'll pull it, it says that outside of the Most High, the most strongest thing on the planet is a woman. There's no denying the power of the woman and how she can persuade you, sometimes on the left-hand side, sometimes on the right-hand side. So as wise as Solomon was, he still made the very mistake of sleeping with other nations. And what did he do after that? Destroyed the entire kingdom of Israel. The reason why we have a northern kingdom and a southern kingdom today is because the Most High rent it in half, because Solomon did not serve the Most High until the end and not deal with other nations. So we definitely have to look at the history of the Bible, the actions that took place in the Bible, and then how do we correct them in this captivity? Like the scriptures very easily say, if we turn back to the Most High in our captivity, I'll pull that scripture in a second. Bear with me. And that's like the most important thing that oftentimes get overlooked. This is 2 Chronicles 7:14. It says, "My people, which are called by my name, shall humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways. Then will I hear from heaven and will forgive their sin and will heal the land." Like, that's what we as Israelites need, specifically in this time. And there's nothing wrong with us being selfish or tribal. I use the term selfish on purpose, and when I'm saying selfish, I'm not meaning me being selfish as a person. I mean our nation being selfish. There's nobody that needs to come together more than our people, not only in who we marry, but also in our culture, also in our business practices, also in our spiritual practices. That's where we have to be. And as long as we continue interracial marriage, we'll destroy that paradigm. Whether you want to deal with a white person, whether you want to deal with an African person, Asian, Chinese, whoever it may be, when you mix with someone of another race, let's use African because I know white is, commonly used a lot. So let's use like an African, and let's say the African worships someone from the doggone gods or something like that. By nature, because you're husband and wife, you're naturally going to try to get along and bend a little bit so that you can have a little bit of peace. So the wife will incorporate some of your culture or your God, and then you'll in turn incorporate some of her culture and her God. And the Most High specifically forbid us from doing that. Now, if we love the Most High, we will obey him. But the problem with, our people, we consistently, do not obey him. The brother brought out Exodus, the 12th chapter, when it said the mixed multitude. The mixed multitude were not non-Israelites. When you read Exodus 11:7, it tells you that the Lord made a specific difference from the moment that he put the plagues on the children of Egypt, from the moment that he killed the firstborn of the children of Egypt. It said, "But against any of the children of Israel shall not a dog move his tongue against man or beast, that ye may know how that the Most High put a difference between the Egyptians and Israel." So that mixed multitude, when you read Exodus, the 12th chapter, and the verse that he pulled out, and it talks about the mixed multitude, you notice that mixed multitude comes after it talks about the men that was on foot. If you notice, it doesn't mention women in that breath. It says, this is Exodus 12:37. It says, "And the children of Israel journeyed from Ramses to Succoth, about 600,000 on foot that were men beside children." The reason why that is because if we know anything about a caravan, if we know anything about a military government, the men are the ones that were on foot. The women and children were not. That's why when it says in the mixed multitude, that would be your elderly men, that would be your children, that would be your women, or that would be the men that would not prepare for war. So this book, although everybody has grasp to it, it's only for us. And what we were supposed to do with that book, when you read Deuteronomy, the 4th chapter, what we were supposed to do is show how powerful the Most High was by us being separate. And when I mean separate, of course, I'm never talking about commerce, whether you do business, like you can't speak to someone of another nation, you can't do business with another nation. That's not what I'm talking about, because even when Solomon built the temple, and if I get long-winded, y'all let me know, because I do talk a lot. Even when Solomon built the temple, he brought trees and cedar trees and stuff like that from other nations. There's nothing wrong with commerce. But as far as dealing with their gods, that's what we're not supposed to do. So I'm not going to take
I wanted to add something. I wanted to add a rebuttal to that comment you made about Exodus 12:38 and Exodus 12:48.
Hold on, brother. Hold on. You're going to get the term. We'll get the term.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay.
You're going around the finish.
Yeah, gotta finish.
You got all night. We got like 3 hours, man. We're going to be good, brother. Be good. But go ahead, Mona Chat.
Yeah, Bro.Jerrel was like, yo, let me get some. We're going to come back around. We're going to come to the rebuttal, the cross-communication before we get up, of course, to the listening audience as well. So definitely, I want to thank everybody for opening up. The spectrum is really broad. Thank you, Brother Tazaryach, for coming forth with that. The spectrum is really broad on this conversation right about now. I know somebody right now is having questions as to whether or not, the relationship that they're currently in, what should they do? I've seen some of these questions on social media. Somebody from another nation, they're really nice. I can't find any Israelites. Whatever the narrative is. It's not only Israelites. It's also just quote-unquote black people who, you know, and we see it oftentimes. The man gets money, he blows up, he get a euro. This is what we see. This is an ongoing narrative. So we're gonna come back around on the table. Before I do, Brother Tazaryach just touched on something, and I actually want to read what it says again. Just like Rebecca, Samson's parents said something, and the verse also tells us what Samson's mindset was. He wasn't necessarily thinking about nation building, wasn't thinking about security, wasn't thinking about holiness. So you guys tell me, what do you think he was thinking about? In Judges 14 and 1, it says, "And Samson went down to Timnah and saw a woman in Timnah of the daughters of the Philistines. And he came up and told his father and his mother and said, I have seen a woman in Timnah of the daughters of the Philistines. Now, therefore, get her for me to wife. Then his father and his mother said unto him, Is there never a woman among the daughters of your brethren or among all my people that you goest to take a wife of the uncircumcised Philistines? And Samson said unto her father, or his father, Get her for me, for she pleaseth me well." I don't know. When I was doing the study, I was like, that was just interesting. He wasn't trying to hear none of that. So are we listening to what the Torah is saying? Are we listening to the reason? Sister Mayanah, the mic is...
Okay, so actually I want to let Bro.Jerrel get that off his chest. But Kay, I'm glad that you brought that up. I was really happy to hear you. Because yes, what was the impetus for our brother Samson was Cain, homegirl, she pleases me well. It was not about nation building. This was about breeding. This is about him wanting to tap that. He thought that was attractive. And you see what the elders said. The elders were like, what, is there never anybody among your own people that you would go to the uncircumcised? But I can build on that, and there's a couple of other things that I want to touch on, but never let it be said that Mayanah won't let a brother get something off his chest. So by all means, I want Bro.Jerrel to go ahead and bring that out, and I'll reserve the opportunity to come back to the mic when that's done.
You see, we nice and courteous here at the Debate Talk for You, the Relationship Challenge. So, Bro.Jerrel, the mic is yours.
Hey, well, I just want to hone in on the point that she had made. And no regard for...
Yeah, Bro.Jerrel, you kind of break it up a little bit, bro. You kind of break it up a little bit.
What's that?
Kind of break it up a little bit. Are you on speakerphone or?
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm driving, but I'll be home in about maybe 15 minutes, so I'll pass and yield the floor until I get to my house. It'll be about 15 minutes. All this I'm keeping notes, so we'll be able to revisit this.
All right, cool. All right, got it, Emunah.
All righty then. So, Sister Mayanah, and then we'll go back to Brother Ahwar. We know he in the cut, waiting to get up in the conversation. So, Sister Mayanah, you want to touch on it, or you want to go ahead and pass it to Ahwar?
No, Kay. Our brothers brought out a lot of very important points, and I want to kind of slam dunk on a few of those alley-oops they set up for me. The brother brought out that we need to give ourselves permission to be what he said, as he called selfishness. And I would like to add to that the word jealous. Now we find that we need to be jealous over one another. The Most High says that he's a jealous power. And the word jealous is often perceived negatively, but to understand what the nature of jealousy is, possessiveness, that what belongs to you, you don't want to see nobody else have that. There's a difference between jealousy and envy, and it's a difference that we need to understand. When the Most High says that he's jealous over us, it means that we belong to him. And he doesn't want to see us lusting after other gods, wanting to be in other places. And he's a jealous power in that respect. And we need to be jealous over each other in that same way. That we want to see our brothers with our sisters. That we want to preserve that kind of unity, that type of jealousy, that what the brother called selfishness. That is a righteous thing. And it receives a lot of bad press because it's been used in such negative ways in other spaces. But that's not how the Most High, when the Most High calls himself a jealous power, he's not saying anything negative about himself. So we don't need to receive it in that way either. The Bro.Jerrel, and we're not picking on you, brother. I want you to have a safe ride home. Not picking on you. But when you mentioned that there was healing done to this man of another nation, and that he was sent to one of our prophets for healing, and that the power and mercies of the Father extend to other people in other places as it pleases him. None of that is up for contestation. No one is contesting that the Most High isn't the Most High over all things, over all that he created. Of course he is. And the fact is that we were taught to be, so we were tasked to be a light unto the other nations. That is the case. But you notice that in healing, he didn't have to wife anybody to get that healing. He tried to go take a dip in the pool, get a little wet. You know what I'm saying? The most time he was instructed to go to the water and be cleansed, not to go dip in any of our daughters to be cleansed. This idea of, in order to reach these people, to teach these people, to be a light or a message unto these people, we must mate with these people and marry with these people, is an unnecessary conflating of the task at hand. You don't have to marry somebody to teach that person. So
but
I think
that's
an unnecessary leap.
But you know what? The ironic thing about that whole scenario was that the handmaiden to Naaman's wife was a slave girl. So here it is. You have a woman that is a slave to this captain's wife, basically saying, "Hey, even though I'm a slave, the God of this universe has the cure for the problem of my master." So I mean, I look at that and I see my own situation here in America, that I'm in bondage, so to speak. That all of the institutional structures. Yeah. So that's the whole thing about it. Even though I might be a slave, or I might be a black man living in this ghetto, I still have a testimony that should be impressive enough to that white institutionalized mainstream society that says, you know what they have is truly better than what we have tried to set up for our own posterity. That's it. If you're going to control this world by means of deception and violence, to me, if the God of the universe is able to show you that, hey, you can do it by, dealing honestly with your brother, by honoring God, these are the issues that would ultimately come forward. And to me, when Naaman came back from Egypt, from Samaria after being healed, the only thing he was declared to the king of Egypt, hey man, there's only one true God in the whole world. So that's the kind of testimony that we're going to be trying to work for.
And I hear you. I hear you, and I think that you're making an important point. But what I would like for you to accept and receive from me right now is not that we're not discussing whether or not the Most High has made divisions across class lines or color lines. We're saying very specifically that when it comes to marriages and marrying, that is not something that the Most High prescribed as part of our outreach program. We are not, it's not a part of the Fresh Air Fund to ship our daughters over to the other nations in order to achieve this kind of understanding that the Most High is capable and the Most High is able. We understand that the Most High, He's the creator of all things. It's impossible to call Him the Most High and then put Him in a box. You understand? So we're not doing that, and in no way are we trying to imply, and I'll speak for my siblings on the panel if I'm incorrect, they'll tell me, that we are not trying to imply that that the Most High isn't capable of doing anything. We're only saying that when the Most High prescribed to whom He wanted His people to marry, very specifically, we're talking about marriages here. When you talk about, I heard you mention the first century Messiah. You see that in the first century, we have the Sidonites who, in 1 Kings 11:1, when after, in addition to the 7 great nations that were outlined in Deuteronomy 7, in Kings 1, we get the Edomites and the Sidonites. Who are the Sidonites? The Sidonites are the children of the Canaanites. We find in, it's in Mark 3:8, right? They show up when the first century Messiah is doing this day. Everybody's impressed. They're coming from Judea, Jerusalem, Tyre, and Sodom, right? All these people are coming. Everybody's excited about what's going on with the Messiah. Boom. But then what happens in Acts 12:20? Acts 12:20, they remember who butters their bread. and they don't want to play anymore. So everybody's excited when everything is good, but then they break up. That's why in the first century they tell you, listen, be ye not respected as a person, because for a morsel of bread, that man a transgress against you. So don't get excited. So everybody, allow me to say that. This is how the past won't work. Just because
what I'm saying. What I'm saying is your point is well taken, and the point that I'm pointing out is that, for example, when Joseph was sold off into slavery with his brothers and ultimately became Prime Minister of Egypt, he ended up marrying or being wed to an Egyptian woman. But that didn't diminish his faith.
That's you with the background noises?
No.
We have some background noises. We have some background noises. Everybody mute your mics, guys, if you're not talking.
I'm going to mute mine and see if it goes away. Let's see if it goes away. Oh. Sounds like somebody's at home. I'm not home yet.
Yeah. So if you're not talking, let's mute your mics. Go ahead, Jerrel.
Okay, good. No. The point is well taken, and what I'm looking at is the contrast between certain people that are mentioned in the Old Testament, where you have someone like Joseph, who, despite all of the adversity that he suffered and endured in life, he never departed from trusting God. We see the same thing with Job. But with the maidservant to Nahum's wife, she also was in very adverse condition, but she still never lost sight of the one true God. Her circumstances were very, and to me, I think I see a lot of Black Hebrew camps having this attitude that as long as we are under the heel of white supremacy, we can't truly be servants of the Most High. But what I see is a contrast between God basically saying, hey, I made you guys to be a peculiar people and for you to be a light unto the Gentiles, a light unto the other nations. But we saw, even when they were delivered out of the hands of Pharaoh, before Moses was even able to come back down with the tablets of stone, these people had made a golden calf, and he was demonstrating just how prone we are to want to not follow him. So, no, your point is well taken, but the contrast that I was trying to point out is that for those who know their God and trust in him, their circumstances are not really going to dictate whether or not they really believe that he is a rewarder of those who diligently seek and serve him, that we are still going to remain his servants nonetheless, regardless of our circumstances, whether he prospers us to where we become like Job or whether we remain slaves. That's the whole point of my saying that. And the mixing was not necessarily forbidden as a result of us losing our heritage. It was because we were prone to be drawn away from our God as a result of our weak thinking about these spiritual things. That's the point of that's the point that I get out of reading the Old Testament and seeing the New Testament.
All right. I want to thank you for that. That's the voice of Bro.Jerrel, and that was Mayanah speaking. And we're gonna go around. You know, this conversation is getting very interesting. Bro.Jerrel is coming from a different point of view, and I think it's getting a little bit lost in translation as I'm here listening. And I'm hearing Sister Mayanah bringing it back to the point as not whether or not outside personalities or peoples are not accepted. It's specifically because this is an issue that is pervasive throughout the nation. And so it's specifically speaking about marriages, specifically not just individuals marrying, but families. And I said earlier that it deals with cultures, traditions, and Brother Tazaryach brought it out. The fact that when you join or cleave onto a foreign nation, this is what it's not a light matter. It's one that the brothers brought out that it caused major trepidation within the nation. This is the fall of Samson, the strongest man, because he went off to foreign, and it's something that the ego, to a certain degree, for me anyway, when I'm reading it, like he said, she pleases me well, you understand, that I don't want that. The ego doesn't want boundaries. You understand? The ego doesn't want, don't touch that, don't do that, don't go there. And so for us as a people to hear that, no, you may like them, they may look fly, you may like the way they, but you cannot intermarry with them, because your family and their family, like Shechem said to our forefathers, will become one. That's a problem, because it's not only, this person wants to serve the Most High. No, their whole family, meaning the auntie, the granny, the papa, the father, the mother, all of those people who your grandchildren will go to, the possibility of them slipping them a Mickey or giving them a little pork fried rice is high. I know you like this nation right here, but the possibility of the fact that when they come outside of this space, you understand what I'm saying, they may go a different way is high. So the Most High is saying, look, don't do that. And when we push against that, I think, for me anyway, when we push against that, we're not seeing the value of ourselves. Just consider, and then I'm going to come to Brother Ahwar, just consider you raise your daughter to 20 years old. You instill Torah knowledge into her. You instill the ways of the Creator into her. And then you exchange her to a foreign nation, into not just a husband, but to a family who does not fear and revere the Most High. You just undid your doing. And if everybody takes to this methodology or this that we can just trade and swap people, this is why we cannot rise as a nation, because both men or women are very important. And the fact that they are homegrown, so to say, and inculcated with the laws is very important. So I don't want us to kind of miss the point in the conversation about mixed marriages, because, like we said, a lot of people are very confused on this matter. And the Torah is very clear, and also the testimonies are very clear of what happens when you don't keep the Torah. And so, Brother Jerrel, I want to thank you for that. Definitely, I'm going to come to Brother Ahwar and then Brother Tazaryach, and we're going to go around like that. And definitely after that point, if you have questions for one another, you can go ahead and ask those questions. So we're going to go around one more time. Brother Ahwar, you just being so nice today. You waiting on nice and patient. Brother Ahwar, the mic is yours.
Yeah. I just wanted to say this topic is going to get very ugly, okay? Now, what I want to read, this is staying on the topic of, is it right for a man to sleep with a woman of another nation, or a sister to sleep with somebody of another nation? Do the Lord agree with that? I want to stay on that. So I want to read this. This 2 Ezra 9, verse 18. It says, and now, when I prepared the world, this is talking about the Most High, right? And now, when I prepared the world, which was not yet made, even from them to dwell in that now live, no man speak against me. So at one point, everybody dealt with the Most High was obedient. Then it says, for then everyone obeyed, but now the manner of them which are created in this world that is made are corrupted by a perpetual seed, and by a law which is unsearchable rid themselves. So I considered the world, and behold, there was peril because of the devices that will come into it. And I saw and spared it greatly, and have kept me a great of the cluster, and a plant of a great people. So the Most High preserved a pure, a sect of people that He's going to retrieve. That's what this whole thing is about. But I want to read this first, right? This is Isaiah 60, verse 2. For behold, the darkness shall cover the earth. So that darkness that I read in the beginning, when men started laying with these different nations, it has conceived the whole earth. Okay? There's a lot of mingled people. We have brothers that look like Gentiles. They are Gentiles. We have Gentiles that look like brothers. So it's a big mess on the earth now, and it's going to be repaired by the Messiah, by Yahushua, and that's when it's going to get ugly. And when I bring that out, we're going to see why everybody hates the Bible, because there's a lot of, like I said, national teeth that's going to go down when the Most High sends His Son to straighten this earth back and put it in the order that He planned from the beginning. But let me read that again. It says, for behold, the darkness shall cover the earth, and gross darkness to people. Let's read about some of this gross darkness to people. This is Daniel's 9th chapter, starting at 7. O Lord, righteousness belongeth unto Thee, but unto us confusion of faces. You know what this confusion of faces is? I'm going to read it. This is Ezra, the 9th chapter. Now, when these things were done, the princes came to me, saying, the people of Israel and the priests and the Levites have not separated themselves from the people of the land. Yet race intermingling, marriage. That says, doing according to their abominations. That's an abominations. I mean, the things that people are dealing with them other nations and following after their ideologies, it mentioned is coined as abominations. Then it says, even the Canaanites, which are Hamitic, the Hittites, the Perizzites, the Jebusites, and the Ammonites, the Moabites, the Egyptians, and the Amorites. For they have taken of their daughters for themselves and for their sons, so that the holy seed, right, have mingled themselves with the people of those lands. So I'm going to go to the 7th verse to show this is talking about the confusion of faces. This is what the confusion of faces is. This is Ezra 9, verse 7. Since the days of our fathers have we been in great trespass. So it's a trespass. It's unlawful for a man to sleep with somebody that's not of his nation. Don't listen to what people tell you. It's unlawful. Okay? Read it again. Since the days of our fathers have we been in great trespasses to this day, and for our iniquities have we, our kings and our priests, been delivered into the hand of the kings of the lands, to the sword, to captivity, and to a spoil, to confusion of face. So that's what the confusion of face is talking about. That's why you have multitudes, people that mingled and that had intercourse, and now you got, it's all a ball of confusion. But as we go on, I'm going to bring the understanding on the next round about why it's imperative that you don't mingle yourself with these different nations. And it goes more into just the philosophy. The Lord have an arrangement from the beginning, and you're disturbing the arrangement. That's why I read that in the beginning about the flowers, about the animals. Everything was made after its kind. And when you mingle with these other nations and have seed, you disrupt the arrangement the Father created. And I'm going to drop it right there. Let's pass the mic.
Good stuff. Bringing out some real good stuff. Like Sal always says, I hope everybody's taking notes. I'm going to go to Brother Tazaryach, and from there we're going to check on Sal. He's a little bit quiet in the background. So I'm going to go to Brother Tazaryach, and then from there we're going to continue to open up the conversation.
I appreciate it. And again, I think the most important thing, like all of you brothers and sisters are saying, is to stick to the subject matter, because I think that, of course, tears off on what we're talking about, which is just simply interracial marriage. And a lot of that reason why that it kind of flips into, what the Most High has done for somebody else is because of our love affair with other nations, which is why Judges, when you go to the book of Judges, when we conquered those different nations that the brother mentioned, the Jebusites, Girgashites, and so forth, why did they stay? The reason why they stayed, when you read Judges, the 3rd chapter, and the 1st verse, it says, "Now these are the nations which the Most High left to prove Israel by them, even as many of Israel had not known all the wars of Canaan, namely the 5 lords of the Philistines and the Canaanites, Sidonians, Hivites, etc." In verse 4, it says, "And they were to prove Israel by them, to know whether they would hearken unto the commandments of the Most High, which he commanded their fathers by the hand of Moses." That's why those nations stayed around, because we were supposed to be the influence on the face of the earth. When you read Deuteronomy, the 28th chapter, of course, as Israel, we always use that for our, to verify our identity, because, of course, that verifies who we are today. But when you read verse 1, in Deuteronomy 28:1 says, let me read it instead of paraphrasing, "And it shall come to pass, that thou shalt hearken diligently unto the voice of the Most High thy power, to observe and do all his commandments, which I command thee this day, that the Most High will set thee on high above all nations." That was our rightful place. And the reason why we were supposed to have this rightful place is because when the Most High numbered the children of, on the earth, he numbered them according to Israel. And like any ruling class or any power, anybody, you always want somebody to set the precedence on how it's supposed to run. So in this place, the Most High created the heavens, he created the earth, and he created the people on the earth. And he wanted to set a people since the time of Adam to govern the authority on the face of the planet. And that's what Adam had, and Adam failed at it. That's what we in turn had it, and we failed at it. So when we're talking about interracial marriage, it's as serious as we should not have no other idols other than the Most High. That's why Christ said in Matthew 5:17, "Think not that I come to destroy the law. I came not to destroy, but to fulfill." And when you read verse 18, it says, "So verily one jot or one tittle shall in no wise come away from the law." Now I'm paraphrasing that. And the reason why that is because when you read, and if I do too much, y'all just let me know. But the reason why that is when you read Deuteronomy, the 4th chapter, in the 5th verse, it says, "Behold, I have taught you statutes and judgments, even as the Most High power commanded me, that ye should do so in the land whither you go possess it. Keep therefore and do them, for this is your wisdom and your understanding in the sight of the nations, which shall hear all the statutes and say, surely this great nation is wise and understanding people. Now imagine if we follow those commandments. Every nation would in turn follow them commandments. So not only would you not have interracial mixing amongst the children of Israel, you wouldn't have interracial mixing nowhere because of the influence that we were meant to have. That's why Christ said, ye are the salt of the earth. We give the whole entire earth flavor. Right now it's just on the left-hand side. On the right-hand side, it would be that much more greater. So when we're dealing with a subject matter such as interracial dating, interracial marriage, dating, however you want to call it, that's how serious we have to take it. Nehemiah gave us the example. Ezra gave us the example. And even when you talk about giving another nation a blessing, giving someone a crumb has nothing to do with whether we can now sleep with him. And what the sister said perfectly about Samson, if I could, like, you use the term ego, I'll up it just a little bit. It's really just lust. Like when Samson wanted that, and that's what we have to fight every day. Like the biggest battle that we have amongst ourselves is the spirit versus the flesh, or the spirit versus the lust. Our physical wants to do everything that makes our physical happy. I see a white woman, she makes me happy. I see an African, she makes me happy. I see a Chinese, she or he makes me happy. I'm using she, of course, because I'm a man, but it goes interchangeable. Instead of following what the Spirit says, and if the law says you can't do it, then you just can't do it. That's why when Samson did it, it was such an atrocity, and why lust is used, because it pleases his eye. And that's when you read them scriptures, that's always what happens. It pleases to the eye. And that's where we fail at. So we have to take this subject matter very seriously. I don't see anywhere in the scriptures, if we're going from a biblical standpoint, I don't see anywhere in the scriptures that would actually justify sleeping with another nation. What I do see is all the destruction that we've had. The scriptures say Gideon slept with a concubine. That's what the scriptures say. Now, when you look at that concubine that he slept with, he had 70 children when he died. That concubine, son, killed all of them except one who was able to escape. Like the punishments, when you look at the stories in the scriptures, the punishments that we suffer, the punishments that we face from dealing with women or men from other nations far outweigh whether we should still continue to do it. You know what I mean? And I don't know if we're at the point where we could talk about how can you speak about it outside of the Bible, but we also have to deal with that paradigm as well, because when you're teaching to people, everybody may not consort from a biblical standpoint. So now you have to give them a morality standpoint as well, which for us will always come back to the Bible. But people will say, well, I don't believe in the Most High. Well, do you believe in your people? Because then we have to look at having some type of integrity or honor for the ancestors that we've lost at the hands of these nations that have destroyed us. So we have to look at that paradigm. I don't know if we're at that point yet. Y'all let me know, because, I think that's something that we should address also. We have to look at it from an outside biblical perspective as well, and why we shouldn't do it from, like, if we was to teach somebody that doesn't believe in the Bible, how would we provoke them or teach them that it's wrong to deal with someone of another nation? Because that's what we have to do as teachers. If we consider ourselves leaders, we have to be multifaceted, from that side as well.
Well,
so I
have a question to add to your comments. I have a question to add, because one thing that my Heavenly Father taught me was to keep it simple and to always go back to the beginning. When we look at the story of Adam and Eve, it was all about obedience and submission to the will of God, for us to do what He has commanded us to do and to avoid going in opposition to what He had told us to do. So my question to you in terms of this racial division, Abraham, when he was born, would you say that he was a Hebrew at the time of his being born, or did he become, because he was called Abram before he became Abraham. So what would you say made Abram become Ibrahim? Was it his genetic stock, or was it because he was willing to enter into this covenant was going to be demonstrated by particular activities in terms of obeying what God had commanded him to do?
No sweat. When you look at Abraham's or Abram, whichever word you prefer, when you look, it starts with his genealogy. When you look at the bloodline of Eber, which is where the root of Hebrew comes from, when you look at that bloodline, that's where Abraham comes from. When you go as far back as Genesis.
Yeah, go ahead.
When you go far back as Genesis, the 14th chapter and the 13th verse, when he was called Abram, when he was not called Abraham yet, Genesis 14 and 13, it says, and there came one that had escaped and told Abram the Hebrew, for he dwelt in the plain of Mamre, the Amorite. So he was called a Hebrew before the covenant was given to him, to answer your question.
Okay, so the point that I'm trying to really make and distinguish is it's not necessarily the bloodline that is going to be emblematic of what makes you a Hebrew. It's going to be whether or not you obey the laws and the covenants that God has ordered for you to abide by on this earth. And if you have the strength, to abide and to stay with the true and living God, then you can't intermarry, because those other people will be drawn to want to do as you do. Because Abraham, when he actually started getting all of these instructions in terms of the circumcision, all of his servants, from the greatest to the least, everybody had to go through the circumcision. So God was trying to demonstrate that for you to be my people, you are going to be such an influence on this earth that from everybody that you are going to encounter, they're going to want a piece of what you are bringing to the table. And we do see that God, he gives gifts without repentance. We see the black community here in this nation having such a dramatic influence over the whole world with rap music. God has given us the power to influence this world through music and song. It's just he's given us the opportunity to wield it for his glory, or we can wield it for the destruction of ourselves and this world. Well, so I'm looking more at the intermingling as more as those people that we interact with being influenced by our conduct and by what we're bringing to the table. And I would say that we're not influencing them to the degree that we should be drawing them to want to be like Abraham's servants. Because all of them had a choice. They were free to get circumcised and say, "Man, I'm gonna go work for the Sodoms down the street."
Well, what I would first say in dealing with this subject matter of interracial marriage, if you're going to tell me that it's okay, you would just have to show me in the scriptures where it's okay. Again, we're talking about the Bible. So if we're talking about something specifically about the Bible, the only way you can make your point heard is if you prove it in the Bible. So you would have to show me chapter. You would have to show me. I'll give
you Moses.
One
he delivered the law. He married.
Hold on. Stand by.
I appreciate it. You would have to give me chapter and verse where it was acceptable. Now, since you brought up Moses, I'll go ahead and deal with that. When you think about Moses, and this is what now, I guess Israelites may understand it. When Moses got the Ethiopian woman, that was before the burning bush. So what we in the Israelite school UPK, the way that we teach it is no different than before I came into the truth. Like, I'm 41 years old. I wasn't always into the truth. I didn't always follow the Bible. So there was a lot of evil deeds that I did. So when Moses took that woman, it was not right, but he was not in the truth yet. Now, once he came into the truth, what is the decree that he gave? Again, Deuteronomy, the 7th chapter says, do not take wives, sons or daughters from other nations. So you bringing up Moses is a good point. But again, Moses, when you look at the story, that's before the burning bush. You understand? So you would, again, have to show me where it was right by law to do it. And even when Miriam and Aaron tried to say something to him about it, the reason why they was wrong is that it would have been a sin for him to put her away after the fact. And that's why. And the Lord said, I'll deal with him on that, as opposed to, just being allowed to get away with it. So, again, you would just have to show me where in our culture, in our code of conduct or our laws, where it is okay to do it. That's all you would have to do.
Can I come in on that? Can I come in on that real quick? Yeah, for the brother. right quick. You brought up Abraham. I'm going to tell you, let me show you how Abraham felt about his concubines and their children. This is Genesis 25, starting at 5. Abraham gave all that he had unto Isaac. Why? Because he was of that royal bloodline. Right? Then it says, but unto the sons of the concubines, those that wasn't of that royal bloodline. Let's see what he said. But unto the sons of the concubines, which Abraham had, Abraham gave gifts and sent them away.
Like he gave him a microwave, he gave him an umbrella, you know what I mean? Gave him a shirt or something, and then sent them away.
Can I respond to that? At the time that God was talking to Abraham about the blessings that he was going to give to Isaac, Abraham actually asked God, what about Ishmael? What's going to become of him? You know, what's going to become of him? And God basically says, hey, don't worry about him. I'm going to bless him. So whatever Abraham may have done in the flesh, the God of the universe, this holy and righteous God, basically said that, hey, I'm going to make sure that he's taken care of. So you can do whatever you want to do, but I'm going to make sure that he will be blessed. So it wasn't that he was just running off with nothing. And we see that those people who we supposedly identify as the descendants of Ishmael, the Saudis and all these Persian people over there in the Middle East, they have been greatly blessed. They have oil, they have a lot of resources, and they also have a lot of influence here in this world. So for me to look at my ancestor Abraham as, quote-unquote, the role model, I see a lot of things that he did that to me really were an embarrassment to us as a people, especially when he went into Egypt and told his wife to lie. So for me to look at him as a role model and an example of the righteousness of God, I just don't see you guys making that connection.
All right. I want to wave my hi, I'm here flag. So I understand there's a lot of masculine energy going back and forth, and I appreciate that. That's fun to watch. But I don't want to get lost in the shuffle, if you don't mind.
All right. We're going to come to Sister Mike. For those who've joined us, this is the Relationship Challenge. We're speaking about interracial relationships and really just going in and fleshing out and seeing what it's all about. We definitely are hearing different perspectives. Bro.Jerrel, I think for me it's coming with more of the spiritual Israel thought process, but there are so many components to our because here's the thing, and I like what Brother Tazaryach said, and I was just about to go there, then it got all lost, but to bring it home, like I'm that person to bring it into today. But before we go there, I think that because we have been so disconnected from a land, our power, and our people, we have no idea what the value of marriage is. Right. We have no idea what the value of securing your resources mean. We are just like, come and get it because we ain't got nothing for you to get. You understand what I'm saying? And then you go to spaces around the world, that don't go down like that. If you want a good, I always say, if you want a good working model of what it looks like, I know some of the African movies is wild, but when you watch these Nigerian movies, you cannot just run up into somebody's village from some place they know nothing of talking about you coming to get their daughter. They're going to ask you 50 million questions because I don't know your people. So what we're talking about here is from a broken perspective. And just to bring it home before I give it over to Sister Mayanah, when we're speaking about Abraham was not yet a nation. That was the promise. Right. The Most High said, I'm going to make you a nation. Right. He wasn't a nation, so who else was he marrying? The Most High said, when I took you out of Egypt, I brought you a nation out of a nation. He said, show me the power that did that. But once we came out as a nation, Moshe is saying, hey, now, look now, this is how we're going to need this thing to go down. You understand? So we have to understand that as we developed, we had property to secure. We had borders to secure. You understand? And we could not just be outsourcing our daughters. And, the daughters are the first teachers, right? And so the thought came to me, we're outsourcing the teachers who we as a people would have grown from birth and then bringing in substitutes. You bringing in the substitute teacher. She don't know nothing. You over there like, yeah, this is Aleph and this is Bait. And then you just sent the one who knows everything to some foreign uncircumcised people. So that is counterproductive if we're trying to build up our interior as a nation. And like the brother said, it's really coming from where we are in this time, having totally been destroyed, as the Most High already prophesied, that we're not going to understand. The wiseness has gone from us, and it's no diss. It's just to say that we have to come back to understand what this really means. Like the brother said, this is a heavy topic. This is where Israel, Ezra was like, hey, line up, man, and you and you and you. And you get slapped, you get pulled, your beard get pulled out, and it wasn't a beautiful thing, but this is what he had to do to show them, what are you doing? Why are you just sowing your seed in sandy soil, and the soil from it doesn't work like that. Not if we're trying to be holy people separated onto the Most High. But again, that's just Emunah. I'm going to give it to Sister Mayanah, and then we're going to come back. The mic is yours.
Ken, I wanted to build up on your point, sis, that you had brought up before the masculine, and then you took over the scene, which we like to see. We like to see that. Emunah brought out that after raising a child in Torah, in this truth, only to swap them out to another nation, we understand from Proverbs the 22nd chapter, the 6th verse, that we train up a child in the way that we want them to go, so that when they are old, they will not part from it. So raising up that child, investing in that child, only to send them into a space where they are not going to be able to continue on those precepts is counterintuitive, it's counterproductive, it's countercultural. We can't go and expect to yield any fruit from that. Our accounts show us that in, let's say, Proverbs, the 13th chapter, 22nd verse, it says that a good person leaves an inheritance for their children's children, but a sinner's wealth is for the righteous. So to understand, we're not talking about the lovers. We're not at this point of this conversation, of this discussion. We're not talking about Deuteronomy. We're talking about Disney. We have all this Disney-esque kind of concepts of what love looks like and what love comes from. Oh, the couple, everybody has an individual right to love and be loved. This is not about individuals. This is not a Hebraic concept. The Hebraic concept is not trying to get Prince Charming or your Cinderella. This was a decision that was made by elders because elders had the right to see their seed and their seed seeds. You're not seeing just, this couple and what happened what fruit was born between them. But be fruitful and then to multiply. That's throughout series of generations, like I'm going to brought out before. If you send your daughter to this family, and that family you have children amongst your daughter and that's other nation, those grandchildren, even if the chick you brought in, it has enough fear not to put pork on her plate or his plate, the grandparents and the great-grandparents and the uncles and the aunties and the nannies, they don't have that same fear. So you still are potentially subjecting those seeds to outside influences, which is why parents were involved in these children. Like you see with Isaac. Isaac wasn't even invited on the road trip. Isaac was home. When Emma came, she didn't know who he was. He didn't know who she was. That was like, love at first sight, period, or whatever, marriage at first sight, because the children were not involved. The elders made those decisions. We see in, I'll take you from Proverbs 13:22, where I had you, to Psalms 128. The concept is the same, where you are that it's a joy for you to see your children's children, and that the inheritance is for your children's children. You also see that in Genesis 48, when Jacob finally gets to set eyes on the children of Joseph who hasn't gone into captivity, he was elated because he got to see the fruit of his fruit. This is what we are talking about when we're having this discussion about marriage. Everybody's getting kind of caught up about, how are we going to judge this one person? It's not fair to judge this one person. This is not about people. This is about families. This is about entire. I'm going to ask you to let me finish. It's about entire.
Well, I have a question.
Okay, I will be.
I have a question based on what you just delivered.
Okay.
Based on what you just delivered.
So just do me a favor. Just write down your questions, and we're going to get things done in order. Well, matter of fact, right after Mayanah, I have to go to the phone lines because we got some people out there that want to wait and stand by.
I'll try to wrap it up. Also, again, just along those same lines, and I'm going to give you this last thing. I wanted to touch briefly on the whole thing with Abraham, but I'm not going to do that at the moment. Maybe we'll get back to it later. But we brought up Tobit a little bit. So if we go to Tobit, the 10th chapter, we see where the family is departing, this young couple is departing, and the parents are now speaking to this young couple It says, and he said unto his daughter, honor thy father and thy mother-in-law. Understand this, when his daughter leaves, she has to honor this new family. Now, if you have sent her away to this foreign nation, she still is obligated to follow the law of her husband and the law of this new family. So her father is rightfully saying, honor thy father and thy mother-in-law, which are now thy parents, that I may hear good report of thee. And he kissed her. And Edna also said, that's her mother, and Edna also said unto Tobias, the Lord of heaven restore to thee, my dear brother, and grant that I might see thy children of my daughter Sarah before I die, that I might rejoice before the Lord. Behold, I commit my daughter unto thee of special trust. Wherefore, do not entreat her evil. So this you see here that Sarah's mother Edna is impressing upon them how important it is to her if she gets to see her grandchildren. Her child has been married, committed to this man, and it's important for her to see her grandchildren. Tobias makes a similar statement earlier when he says, bless, he blessed them and sent them away, saying, the God of heaven give you prosperous journey, my children. I read it already to you, but the fact is that they want to see their grandchildren. And the idea that they raise their children preciously so that these grandchildren, this future inheritance going into the future, will also be something that is a glorious contribution back to our Father and to our nation. This is what we are discussing when we're talking about marriages and the exchanges of resources. We're not talking about impeding on personal love, affection, or attraction. We're not out to boogify or vilify the white man or any other Asian man or anything else. That's not what this is about. It's not trying to snatch grace and mercy out of the hands of other people. It's not about that at all. This is about whether or not Israel needs to marry, exchange our resources with other nations in order to affect that task. And with that, I'll yield the floor, and I'll go back to the Abraham a little bit later. But with this, I yield the floor.
All right.
Yeah, gotta throw the lion in there.
Yeah, man.
Throw the lion in there and maintain some order, you know?
By our birds, by our...
That's good.
All right, brother.
All right, once again, guys, interracial relationships is a heated conversation right about now, even on social media. I got a couple of questions, actually, I got from social media that I want to present to the special guest. But we got to go to the phone lines. People have been standing by patiently waiting to get in this conversation. Again, this is the Relationship Challenge, Interracial Relationships. The number is 646-716-7320. If you want to get in this conversation, once you dial that number, press the number 1, and we'll add to the conversation. You can use the phone or via Skype to call in. Let's go to the phone lines. Remember, there's no foul language. Keep it clean, keep it professional once you call into the show. Let's go to 779-875. You're live on air.
Can you hear me?
You're loud and clear. How you doing?
I'm good. How's everybody doing? This is his Talk One Shema. I'm loving everything that everybody's saying. There's some good points. I just had a few questions to ask you all. I actually understand what the sisters are bringing out as far as like the interracial is concerned and with dealing with, the families, different families, and the kids perhaps going along with the other families and they taking in the things that's against the Most High, like, the pork and all that stuff, and how that can be problematic. My question would be, like perfect example, I know a lot of you probably know who like Lenny Kravitz is, or that one guy that was on the TV show Prison Break. My thing is this. You have Lenny Kravitz, his father is like, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, like Jamaican and something like that, and his grandparents are black, or so-called black. And then you have the guy from Prison Break. I mean, not Lenny Kravitz, I'm sorry. Lenny Kravitz's father is white. And then you have the guy from Prison Break, his father is like Jamaican and black and all that stuff. How would you relate it back to back then? How can we, a lot of us probably are from, or could be possibly, if we don't get a DNA test, from a white background. How do you connect that with the Torah as far as not intermingling. Like, again, I agree with the whole aspect of not and how it's important for us to keep it in the culture, because it is a problem. It's really hard when you intermingle and do interracial relationships. So my question is, how would you look at someone like a Lenny Kravitz or like the guy from Prison Break and try to relate it to the Torah? I don't know if I came off clear, but that's my question.
All right, let's go to Tazaryach. Tazaryach, you want to take that? Are you there? Hello? Hey, you guys hear me? Hello?
Yeah,
I can.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah, Tazaryach, you want to answer that one? I guess, I can't hear you, Tazaryach. I guess you're having some issues with your mic, brother. Let's go to Bro.Jerrel then. Want to try that one?
Yeah, I think I can address it and even do it as a follow-up to some of the questions that I was going to ask the sister as she was giving her presentation. That the promise that was given to Abraham as well as Jacob, we can see that God promised that he would be the father of many nations, and through him all nations would be blessed. He didn't say a particular nation, but he did give Abraham some particular things that would make him iconic, that would make him stand out in opposition to the other nations of the world. And we see also, when we look at the story of Jacob, when he's fallen asleep, and here it is, we have all of these animals laid out, and here it is, God is walking amongst the pieces to ratify the covenant that he is going to give Jacob. Jacob had nothing to do with this promise that God was going to lay out for the future generations of Jacob. And this is the whole point that I'm seeing even when I look in the New Testament, when after the Messiah had been risen, and Paul is actually running around and he's teaching these women, and they're asking him questions, hey, my husband, he hasn't changed, he hasn't converted, can we divorce him? Should I get rid of him? And he says, no, you're to, by your conversation, hold your square, stand on your square, and honor God, that by your good conduct he may be persuaded to join you. And so with the example that the young lady gave, these men were concerned with the giving of their daughters because they were concerned that they just weren't fully prepared to do the things that God would have them to do. Like, for example, if you're going to honor your in-laws, and your in-laws say they're Buddhist, is honoring them, allowing them to continue in a religious system that ultimately leads to their destruction? I would say no. You can respect them, but you would be more inclined to honor them by your conduct, and it would be through that they would see the deficiency or the how their religious view falls short of being totally comprehensive and life changing as a believer of the Most High. So I would just say that God has always looked not at the circumcised parts necessarily, because we can even see in the early parts of when the law was dispensed that if you had an issue with your brother, God said, don't come to the synagogue. I would rather you reconcile and resolve the issue that you have with your brother before you come to make any offerings to me, because he understood that it was going to be the conduct of the believer that was going to be the thing that would actually make people see God. And that's the problem that I see here in our own communities, that we go to church. We can hear you now. We go to church, but for the people that are quote unquote Sunday worshipers, that's been the biggest rebuttal. They say, you guys don't believe in this God of the Bible because we see so much hypocrisy in your conduct. So this is, to me, the real issue that God is really trying to highlight, and we can see it when we see these contrasting personalities laid out in God's Word.
Okay, can I answer the brother's question that called in? I know
Sure.
y'all had me. I heard y'all fine. I don't know why y'all didn't hear me. 1 Timothy 1:4 says, neither give heed to fables or endless genealogies, which minister questions. So a lot of times when we deal with the genealogy, you'll go back some can go back like to their great-grandfather, maybe their great-great-grandfather. But if you can't, depending on how far you could go back, it would minister questions, like how far back are you going to go? Eventually you'll be going all the way back to Adam. So I know for the most part, we go back to the great-grandfather or the great-great-great-grandfather in some instances to answer your question. And again, being an Israelite is not based on skin color at all. Being a nation, any nation outside of Israel, has really nothing to do with skin color. When you read Jeremiah 12:9, it tells you my heritage is unto me as a speckled bird, meaning we come in many different colors. We come in light brown, dark brown, just like we do today. A lot of people like to equate that to slavery, but that's not true to equate it to slavery. I mean, hell, Isaac and Rebekah gave birth to Esau, and they were both black. So it had nothing to do with slavery at all. So to answer your question, you can go back as far as you can without going through too much. I know a lot of people like Ancestry.com and taking DNA tests, but even that's not accurate enough. And then, of course, the scriptures also say that the Spirit bears witness to who we are. So to answer your question, we do check the genealogy, but you can only go back so far. If I didn't answer your question, you'll let me know.
All right, let me just get Mayanah in. Mayanah, you can go ahead. And after that, I've got to take some more callers because due to time constraints. Mayanah.
I'll keep it quick. So the caller, the idea of a person having ancestry where the father may be one thing and the mother may be another, and that kind of confusion. There is no complication in having that conversation with those people. This is not a new condition. We find in Ezra, where we were coming out of exile, there were still those of us that could not vouch for our pedigrees. This is in Ezra, the 2nd chapter. So this is not a new condition. How Ezra dealt with that isn't really stated in terms of what was done with the lay people, but the high priests were not allowed to do any service if they couldn't prove that they were from the house of Aaron unless someone was able to vouch for them through our spiritual means at that time. Well, we find that in modernity, like right now and in recent times, where most congregations will keep you, will hold you accountable to, is only 3 generations, because in Deuteronomy it says that within 3 generations for the 2 most common people that had us in captivity, both if you accepted white people, Edom was 3 generations, and with Egypt 3 generations. You count father, grandfather, great grandfather, then that's as far as you're accountable for, and certain congregations only hold you to that. So in terms of we're having to reconcile the fact that we have intermarried, and we are trying to figure out how to deal with that. That's how we're approaching it right now. But, we don't want to just say that, okay, since we've already made this mess, let's continue to sit in this mess. Once we've understood that a mess has been made, what we want to do is take corrective measures to not allow that mess to spill again. So, just to wrap it up, for the case as it is right now, dealing with the reality that there are people that have mixed ancestries on either side. This is not new. It's an Ezra 2. This is already a condition. Captivity is a good hotbed for that kind of condition. And we have measures in place. You will kind of bleed that out over generations and restore order the way the Most High has said it. And with that, I yield.
All right, we got to go to the phone lines, people. We got to go to the phone lines. A lot of people standing by. We appreciate you guys checking out the show via phone and via Skype or the phone, and, of course, on social media. Checking out the Debate Talk Radio. Let's go to the phone lines. Let's go to the next person. Let's go to 443-815. Live and air.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Mercy. And I just wanted to offer a little 2 cents. I asked a question at the end. But I just wanted to go to a verse. It talks about Acts chapter 10, verse 28. Peter told them, you know it is against the Jewish laws for me to come out into a Gentile home like this. So apparently it's against the law for Jews to associate with Romans. This guy was a Roman. Now, if you go, Rome is located in Italy, and Italy, most Italians look white to me. Now, if we try to ignore the skin color, I think sometimes we try to ignore that, but that's the case. And if you look at World War II, the Italians and the Germans got together and the Russians got together, and they tried to take over the entire world. They killed 50 million Jews. Then you look at what's the Roman Catholic Church? Roman Catholic Church came from Rome. What did the Pope do? He tried to take over the world. What did the Romans do during Jesus' time? Press God's people right in their own land. Now, see, now see, and then the brother asked, Carl asked, well, how do we know about we mix or whatever, blah, blah, blah. But the white man has already said, if you have a drop of black in you, you're black. So he already set the rule. And see, the thing is, I mean, we can try to ignore race as much as we want, but when I look at interracial, I'm not, I kind of look at white and black because that's what I'm dealing with. And so if we try to ignore that what's going on, then we go into error. But I just wanted to say, what do you think about Acts? Oh yeah, and then the Torah law in the Old Testament talks about the Canaanites. And Philistines, all of them were Canaanites. And they were not supposed to marry the Canaanites. But that wasn't actually a law. That's just what their parents told them to do. But this in Acts 28, it explicitly states it's against the law. Like, I mean, sin's a violation of law. I think that's what one person asked the question. What is sin? I mean, is it a sin to marry outside your race? So that was one of the questions that was asked. And if that's the topic, then I would say I think it is a sin to marry outside your race if it's pertaining to Acts 10:28. And I just wanted to say, do the panel think that Acts 10:28 is pertaining to white people? All right, that's it. I'm done.
All right, let's go to Emunah.
Okay. Oh, okay. But I want to jump on that. I'm sorry.
What I can say is, I want to say, I'll pass the mic for those who want to say something. The first thing I want to say is thank you to callers.
Hold on, I'm hearing some noise in the background. You have any, switch your mic, guys.
That was me.
No problem.
Yeah, my bad. That was my.
Yeah, so the first thing I wanted to say is thank you to the callers. For the first caller that spoke about, mixed heritage, as Sister Mayanah pointed out, this existed before. One of the situations that is very prominent in the Torah is in the book of Leviticus, 24:10. And it says, and the son of an Israelitish woman, meaning, quote unquote, what some would say black, but everybody was melanated, whose father was an Egyptian. So this is a mixed individual. So our brother Tazaryach was bringing out the mixed multitude, and when he said it, it binged in my head because I was looking at this aforetime before we came online, that this mixture already existed where some people, whether it be the man with the woman, like in the case of Yosef, or the woman with the Egyptian man, like in this case. But we also see that this mixture introduced a certain thought, and it says he blasphemed. But my point of the matter is he was still amongst Israel. Even though you had one parent who was an Israelite and the other wasn't, he was still amongst Israel in this particular situation. As it returns to the brother brought up black and white, which I think is very interesting, because if we just fast forward a little bit to this space and time, yes, the European on purpose made it so that he can populate his seed in the so-called black woman. And at the same time, he made it illegal for the black man at that time during slavery to impregnate his, like they say, pervert their race. So this is a conversation that as we are here in this structure where race applies, we're going to have to kind of understand that it was nationalism in the Bible, but if we're going to talk about the here and now, you would be talking about these quote-unquote racial constructs. As it relates to ACT, I'm not up on it, so I'm not even going to touch it, but I do think bringing it to black and white in this space and time is important because this is how people will relate that topic. So once again, I will yield the mic.
All right, what I'm going to do is, Ahwar, I'm going to let you stand by. Right after Tazaryach, I'm going to let you go ahead, okay, Ahwar? Tazaryach, go ahead.
Yes. No, but I appreciate it. I like the black and white concept and the Cornelius concept as well. The brother brought up Acts 10:28. I like to read the King James Version preferred. And I'll read it real briefly. It says, "And he said unto them, ye know how that is unlawful thing for a man that is a Jew to keep company or come to one of another nation, but the Most High hath showed me that I should not call any man common or unclean." If anybody knows the purpose of Christ, Christ charged the disciples to not go into any city of Samaria, but go to the lost sheep of the house of Israel. These lost sheep of the house of Israel did not call themselves Israelites. They called themselves by the nations that they were in. When you read Acts 10 in the first chapter, it says there was a certain man in Caesarea called Cornelius, a centurion of the band called the Italian band. It never says he's Italian. It just says that he's in the Italian band. We know if you saw the HBO series called Band of Brothers, it's talking about the military that he was in. No different than brothers in the military today. Verse 2, it calls him a devout man and one that feared the Most High. The precept for that would also be Acts the 2nd chapter and the 5th verse. And it says, "And there were dwelling at Jerusalem Jews, devout men, out of every nation under heaven." And when you read the rest of Acts the 2nd chapter, you'll see how different Jews that was from Parthians, Medes, that was from Pamphylia, Egypt, Libya, Cyrene, all of these people came from different nations, but they were Israelites that lived in those nations that came back to Jerusalem. When you go back to Acts the 10th chapter, of course, that's the verse that Christians use to justify eating pork. Because Peter has the vision, he see all the meat coming down, and see, that's the Lord saying we can eat pork, not even understanding that Peter himself said he had to think on what that dream meant. Because the Lord said, "What I have cleansed, call not thou common." That's why in verse 28, he says, "The Most High have showed me, call not common," call any man common or unclean. And when you read verse 34, it says, "Then Peter opened his mouth and said, Of a truth I perceive that the Most High is not a respecter of persons, but in every nation he that feareth him and worketh righteousness is accepted with him. The word which the Most High sent unto the children of Israel." It didn't say sent to the children of everybody. And when you go to Ezekiel, the 37th chapter, and the 21st verse, it tells you that the cleansing that took place was talking about the children of Israel or the northern kingdom and the southern kingdom who were defiled by following the other nations. So to answer the brother's question about Cornelius was not a non-Israelite. He was an Israelite. As far as the black and white paradigm, the effects of slavery also plays a part, if we were to speak outside of the Bible, why we should not be interracially marrying as well. Because although we're talking about interracial marriaging with many different nations, the predominant one, of course, is black and white. You have Africans as well, and so forth. And if we had any integrity or honor to our ancestors, like the only thing I do get jealous about is when I see the Jewish man that's impersonating us and how he wouldn't buy a German car. He wouldn't affiliate with the Germans. He wouldn't do nothing with those nations. Why? Because that they felt that race of people totally destroyed their people. So because they destroyed their people, they didn't want to have nothing to do with them. But yet in 2016, we don't have that same love for our people. You know what I mean? Whether we dealing with the Africans that sold us, whether we dealing with the Arabs that built the ships for us to be put on the boats, or whether we dealing with the white man itself, we need to learn to have a little bit more integrity for our fallen ancestors and then learn that lesson. Now, I know the brother probably got something to say, so I don't want to take up too much because I know you got other callers.
I got you. And Ahwar The Swordsman, you can go ahead. And after that, due to time constraints, we got to go to the next callers. Again, the number is 646-716-7320. That's press number 1, and we'll add to the conversation. Interracial relationship is the topic today. My special guest is Ahwar The Swordsman, Mayanah Johnson. We have Bro.Jerrel. We have Tazaryach. And, of course, myself and Emunah is here, co-host of the show. But let's go to the phone line. Let's go to 609-284. You're live in air.
Yo, what's good? Shalom. What up, everybody? It's your boy Yeshaya, Board Council. What's good? I'm gonna just come flat out with it. You know what I'm saying? Like, whoever's trying to use scriptures to justify that is unlawful for interracial marriage is very asinine. And I'm gonna say that because people are taking technical approaches that really has no construct inside of the book. There's only 2 things that will allow one not to interracially marry in the Bible. That's because the nations are wicked
first and foremost, and that's also because after coming out of captivity and people are already tainted by mixing with the multitude that they were in, coming out of captivity and trying to restore the nation again, it's unprofitable for people to come in with their kids, as in Ezra, already idolizing and already speaking another language, all right, of a different nation and serving different gods. A brother recently asked, is there anything in the law that would justify it? Yes, there is, actually, when you go to Deuteronomy 21, verses 11. Now, this is specifically talking about women that are war captives. Now, regardless of what anybody want to say, if you want to get on the technical aspect of, well, it's because they were captives in war, it's still the simple fact that it is another nation, all right? And because this woman has to come underneath of the power of Israel, she has to shave her hair, cut her nails, and she's able to weep for a household for a month. It shows you that the interracial law is only due to the fact that if the nation is powerful and the nation is flourishing and these people are continuing to practice their religious worship, it would be unbeneficial for any Israelite to go and marry anybody out of that nation. But when the nation is broken, when the nation is dismantled and have no choice but to be absorbed and come underneath the power of Israel, it's a go. All right, and the reason why it's just too many examples in the scriptures, man. It's too many examples in the scriptures. Nobody even really has to tackle Abraham. Like, we can leave Abraham out of that. Let's deal with coming out of Egypt. Let's deal with the people that sojourn with you. You know what I'm saying? Let's deal with not hating the Edomite and not hating the Egyptian. Now, even though that is not related in the sense of a marriage in particular, due to the sexual intercourse that you must have, due to a woman being a virgin, due to showing the token and the witnesses and all those things, the marriage consisted in the Bible is always still talking about a covenant being made. Point blank, period. So when you have people that say, listen, I worship your God and I serve your God and I travel amongst this tribe, that's the tribe they have to be absorbed into. These are laws and stipulations, all right, about other people becoming mixed and mingled with Israel, because it was always a mixed multitude, a conglomeration or a social class of people that had a belief system that kept them together and was the boundary for them not to step outside of the laws and the codes. All right, people have to really understand that, especially when you do a lot of historical research concerning the time periods from Exodus on down. All right, another example, Ezra said, you want to basically marry other women, and now you're going to bring again the guilt of Israel. See, it's something Israel did, and therefore that's because they went after whoring after these other nations' gods because they intermarried. That was the guilt that was on Israel. So it wasn't the fact that it was a different race. It wasn't the fact that it was a different tribe. It's the fact if the tribe does not come underneath the power and authority of Israel, if the tribe does not come or the nation does not come and worship and respect the Creator as a true Creator and follow the laws and commandments, you cannot marry them. That is the main stipulation. Even Solomon prayed for these people. If you got a brother that's a king and he's in his right state of mind at this point in time, all right, people know the scriptures I'm talking about when he prayed before any captivity took place. This brother prayed that if anybody from a foreign nation, not Israelites, he said people that are not your people, not people that were so-called lost Israelites and became a lost nation, no, because that's not what it says. He said even those people that hear about your name and come from afar, let them come into this temple. So if they're allowed to come into the temple, surely they're also allowed to be able to join themselves into Israel in a marriage, because everything is kept with inside of the construct of the belief. All right. Now, when people talk about bloodlines, this is a perfect example, and I lean more onto the Hebrews also stemming from the social class of the Habirus, and I say that for a reason because due to the background and certain topics. But I'm gonna go ahead and finish this real quick and let everybody get back on. First and foremost, I'm a black individual. I'm for my black people first, and then I help other people. That's the way I look at it. Now, I group up with Spanish people. I group up with African people. I group up with Haitian people. These are people in my circle. All right. Now, my circle, whether they are associating with somebody that's also of their race or bloodline directly, they don't go outside of the circle or the construct that we have as our friendship and the way we treat each other as family to go out their way to please them more than the circle that we're in. When we're conducting business, when we're practicing and reading Torah together, they know their family has no hold or no power over them praising and worshiping the one true creator. So therefore, we are all brothers and sisters. So if we start to intermarry with each other, I take my son and give him to my Haitian brother's daughter or something of that nature. I take the Spanish, the Spanish brother and, his son and give it to my daughter. What keeps us all together is the fact of what we believe in, and we're creating the bloodline down the line in generations that pass because we're only dealing with us. And the kids are only dealing with them and only dealing with people that are going to believe in what they're doing. They're not going outside of that. All right? Now, like I said, it's asinine. And people, if you don't know what that means, look that up. It is very foolish to try to sit up here and allow what these people have done, these white people have done, as far as putting a certain psychosis inside of our mind, dealing with the emotions and the sensitivity of racism, because this is a new construct. All right, this is not something people viewed back then about a skin color or anything of that nature. All right, it just wasn't happening like that. So people really have to put that into thought. You can go to scriptures here, go to scriptures there, but you have to really define what those scriptures are talking about and use them also in conjunction with other scriptures, because if not, you're going to have a contradiction instead of having a paradox. All right, and being able to explain it. So, that's all I really got to say about that.
That was King Yeshaya right there. Appreciate you calling in. Let's go to Mayanah. Mayanah, go ahead.
All right. Go ahead to Mayanah, Brother Sal. I wanted to say something, but go ahead.
No, I'm gonna let you go ahead because I'm a cool down from being called asinine like 6 times in one conversation. So I'm
all right. I got it. Thank you, Brother Yeshaya, for calling in, for sharing your thoughts. Again, this is the relationship challenge where we speak about relationships as it relates to the Hebrew Israelite community and the community abroad. And really what we bring up here is these heated conversations that may get people a little bit, uncomfortable because it's personal. And what can be more personal than your relationship and the people that you choose to get into or have in the past? With that said, the brother brought up something that was very interesting. And I said it before that sometimes because we as a people are coming back from a destroyed state of mind, certain things that we give little weight to, they're very valuable or they are heavy weighted than we actually give them credit for. In the instance of bringing up the fact that you can marry or not even marry, you can take a booty, basically, war captive, right? This is when we think about the value of a mother, a daughter of Israel, we seem to take it very lightly. We seem to think that a war captive who was born and bred in a foreign nation is equivalent to a daughter of Zion. As a matter of fact, our foreparents, Simeon and Levi, would beg to differ. And I find it just a little bit disheartening that sometimes our brothers don't see the value, and this is what happened in times past, and it's still happening, that we're going to swap out someone who was born and bred to worship the true and living power and put them on the same footing as someone who was born to worship an idol of graven images. But anywho, when we look at the priest, when we look at the epitome of holiness in the nation, he had certain stipulations. And he's the epitome of holiness in the fact that he couldn't have, he couldn't have a woman outside of Lewi. He couldn't have a divorcee. He couldn't have, if he was a widow, she had to be of the high priest. He had certain things to show you that, for lack of better words, I'm going to have to get Jamaican on y'all. There was no mix-up on blender in that situation. You understand what I'm saying? There was a certain separation. So for us to say, yes, it's a hodgepodge, it's a party, let's get it on, and not looking at that we're supposed to be a holy nation separated unto the Most High, is kind of why we in the situation, because we took it lightly. I want to say one more thing as well concerning that war captive. Now, Laban, he was kind of off, but listen to what Laban said concerning this war captive conversation in the time when Yaakov decided to go away. In Genesis 31 and 26, and then I'm going to yield, it says, and Laban said to Yaakov, this is when he overtook him, he said, what have you done?
that you have stolen away unawares to me, and carried away my daughters as captives taken with the sword. Now, a man who wants to take a captive, I hear you, but she has no more family. She has no more connection. She's more of like a slave. She's more of like somebody of a lower class than somebody who's going to be your Isaiah, somebody that's going to be a helpmate. She's not a helpmate. She's a jump-off. Now I'm going to have to take
Now bring it out, sis. Go ahead.
Was she finished?
Yeah, I'm done. Go ahead, brother. You got it.
No sweat.
Right.
Well, the other brother, I want to be fair. I know the other brother been sitting back there on mute, so before I speak, I'll yield to him first if he wanted to speak. So because I know he hasn't spoken for a while. I believe.
Yeah, let's get Brother Jerrel in there. Yeah, Jerrel. Yeah, Brother Jerrel.
No, not Jerrel. I ain't talking about him. No, I ain't talking about him. I'm talking about. Yeah, that brother hasn't
a war call
spoken
actually. A war call actually dropped, so we're waiting for the call back.
Okay, well, no sweat. Yeah. I'll take it. Deuteronomy, the 7th chapter, clearly cuts what that young man was saying, and I'm calling him young man on purpose. When he was talking about, they talked about that time, and we ain't supposed to do it, and he brought up the Ahwar and Edomite and Egyptian, which everybody loved to bring up, which has nothing to do with the subject matter which we're talking about, because that will lead to a different subject. The whole reason it says not to deal with them nations is because they would turn us away. That's oversaid and done with. What I notice, a lot of people that's being for interracial marriage are not bringing out a scripture to justify interracial marriage, but they're trying to bring out scriptures that they think join other nations to us. And because other nations can be joined to us, in their mind, they think the nations can be joined to us. They think that it's then okay to sleep with them. That is the hypocrisy that exists in a lot of the false teachings that are done in the Bible, and subconsciously the love that we have for other nations, where even if, let's say for the sake of argument, you could not sleep with other nations, but let's say for the sake of argument, you could allow them to join you and be in your temple and do all of that stuff. The law still states that you couldn't sleep with them. So they can't even like the love affair that we have of these other nations is so strong that we can't even fathom not sleeping with them. We can't even think in our mind that, okay, they're gonna serve the Most High under our authority, which that's actually scripturally correct. Deuteronomy 28:1, when it says that we shall be above all nations are supposed to serve the Most High, but all nations are not equal to us. It's damn near like if you was to equate it, like how the white man set precedents and everybody follow that, that's the role that we supposed to have. We supposed to set the precedents on the right-hand side that everybody else is supposed to follow, period. But that still don't mean that we're supposed to sleep with them. Why? Because once we start sleeping with them and dealing with them, that love affair that you have with that woman's box or that man's rod, excuse my language, but that love affair that you have will allow you to then follow Buddha, follow Kemet, follow Ethiopians, follow Caesar Borgia, who they call Jesus Christ, follow every false deity that you can find, and then we're right back to square one. So to anybody that's saying that it's okay, you have to show me in the law where it's okay. Again, we're talking about the Bible. We're not talking about your opinion. Like Jeremiah 17:9 says, the heart is deceitful above all. Who could know it? When it's talking about the heart in the scriptures, it's talking about your mind. Your heart just pumps blood. Now, our heart wants to love white people, wants to love Africans and Chinese and all of that. But who cares what we feel? It's not about us. It's about the Most High. And the scriptures say the fear of the Lord is the beginning of his love. Now, if we love him, we'll do what he say and we'll keep his commandments. If we don't, we'll find every excuse to lay with a dog, period. That's what you lay with any of them other nations, you are laying with an animal. That's what you're laying with, a dog. So I don't want to, hog it up because I'll start going off. But, y'all can go. I don't know if you got any other callers that got questions.
No, I want to go ahead and touch that. I used it. I was caught a little fine with a little answer. It was funny. But I
if I could just say one thing, I'll give it back to you. That was asinine. All that he said was asinine. But you got it.
I don't agree.
You got it now.
I know. I'll say with the brother. It was nothing for him. And I understand he's feeling a little emotional about the topic, you're happy.
Right.
You know, but we try to keep it respectful on the relationship challenge. I was just kind of poking fun at the brother for turning up on us like that, because we usually do this in all love. But I hear what
He turned on y'all, not me.
Okay, I ain't trying to self us a little.
Bro.Jerrel.
It's all good. But here's the thing, all right? So just to address the young brother, here's what it is. He brings up Solomon. Understand, Solomon is saying that it is okay for the brothers to pray, or these other nations to pray to the Creator. You know, why wouldn't Solomon say it's cool for the other nations to pray to the Creator? He created these other nations as well. Conversation is not about whether or not other nations can or should pray to the Creator. That is not the same thing. I mean, just like earlier, the caller before that brought up Peter. You know, he wants to bring up Acts 10. This conversation, whether or not, because, you know, there's a little bit of division about whether or not Cornelius was in or not. That not being the case. Understand this. What Peter brought to Cornelius was conversation. Peter, I imagine there's like 12. There's 12 apostles. Most of them, we don't really know what their family life was like, but Peter, we definitely know how the family. Because we see that in Matthew 8 and Luke 4, he has a mother-in-law. So we know that this is a married man. Peter didn't come and give this man Cornelius his daughter in marriage. He brought the man conversation. So this topic is about marriage. And we're not talking about whether or not other nations are allowed to engage in conversation. We're not talking about whether or not other nations are allowed to engage in marriage. Like Brother brought out earlier, it's not about whether or not these other nations can engage in commerce. We're talking about whether or not we are going to exchange precious resources. What we talked about earlier in Ezra, in Deuteronomy, in Genesis, is whether or not we are going to have my daughters go to your daughters put our funds, and become one people. The Most High said, you are not one people. You are this Israel is a peculiar people unto me. And for some reason, our people have a problem with being precious. And I think that we really need to deal with the psychology of a people that reject being a precious commodity unto our Creator. Our Creator is saying, you are precious, you are set apart. I have a very particular objective for you. And our people are saying, we don't want to be precious. We don't like being special. We want to be like them over there. That was the problem we had in First Samuel. We wanted to be like the other kids. We didn't want the Most High to be the king. We wanted the king like other nations. We don't like being set apart. We don't want to be precious. We don't want to deal with the Most High's word. This is what the Most High said he wanted to go down. Do not marry them. What's the problem? Don't marry them. He didn't say you can't invite them to dinner. He didn't say you couldn't exchange this. You want to trade clothes with them? Do what you got to do. You want to go and trade chickens? You can trade chickens. You don't trade your daughters. This is the conversation that we are having. Trade conversation, trade chickens, trade cars, trade clothes. But do not trade your daughters. I really don't understand how we're falling into so much complication.
Yeah, let me get Bro.Jerrel in here, and after that we got to take some of these callers. And as a matter of fact, I have some emails being sent to me right now. You know, people listening all over the globe. We appreciate you guys, you know, for sending your questions via email and on social media. But Bro.Jerrel, go ahead. And the Ahwar The Swordsman is back. He's back though. But go ahead, Jerrel.
One of the things that I'm kind of at a disadvantage is that I've read the Bible and I'm not one for actually quoting chapter and verse, but I can actually quote stories, and hopefully you guys will pick up the point of what I'm saying, because I'll describe the story. I'm sure you'll know it. Mm-hmm. But the issue is not, because God made people of one blood. We're all of one blood, and the distinctive thing that he always looked for was whether we were going to obey him or whether we weren't. Now, the issue that you look at in the Old Testament was that when we got surrounded by other nations, like when we entered the Promised Land, we kind of cleared everything out, and then we established ourselves. We had wells that we hadn't dug, vineyards that we didn't set up, but these are all of the things that God had promised. The thing about it is we started whoring after other nations. We started looking over the hill, and we imagined all these wonderful things. We saw it even in the wilderness, where we're making golden calves. We're doing everything totally against God's instruction and God's law, even though he manifested all of these blessings. He delivered us out of the hand of bondage.
So the real issue that I see throughout the Old and the New Testament is somebody going to obey? And I'll just give you just a particular example. If my wife, and my wife is a black woman, if my wife were to die tomorrow and I'm running around here in the world, I'm not going to be like Samson where I'm going to be, smitten by, a particular type of woman, even though I will be interested in seeing a particular type of woman. Like, for example, I grew up really liking Latin women. Everybody asks me, how come you married this sister? I don't know. All I know is that I married a black woman, even though, socially speaking, I always dated Latin women. But the long and the short of it is, if my wife were to die or something and I have to strike out on my own, I might be inclined to interact and go back to interacting with Latin women. But the issue is not going to be her physical appearance that's going to draw me to be interested in her. It's going to be whether or not she has submitted herself to the obedience of that God of the Bible. If she's not there, I don't care. She could look like Halle Berry. She could look like, think of the most beautiful Latin woman out there right now. I'm not going to be drawn into her because of her appearance. If she's not honoring God, because God, it's like what you were saying earlier. God has made me to understand that I am perfect. I am fully equipped. I lack nothing, especially knowing that He's with me and He's directing, making my path straight. So the white mainstream society has nothing to offer me. So I don't look to, quote, white society, but if God has seen fit for a white woman that I might encounter at synagogue or at church or interacting, doing public speaking at the beach or at a park, declaring God's word, and they're drawn to, obey and, man, I like you, and I'm single, then I'm not going to deny that. I'm not going to look down upon her, because it's just like when David was being chosen as king, the prophet came in and he says, I'm looking at these guys, and, all of your sons look strong, but it's that little one out there. He's the one that God is telling me is the one, because God wasn't looking at the external. And even in the New Testament, it talks about if you have a man who's uncircumcised, yet he keeps the law, but you have a man who is circumcised, who is a Hebrew, and he can go to his genealogy all the way back to Abraham. He says, what is it? Is it a prophet that he's going to benefit by? No, he's condemned. But the guy who is not a Hebrew, he's going to be rewarded and honored by God. So I don't see it. I understand in terms of nation building, we definitely have to have that solidarity. But I'm at a point where I'm sitting there saying, hey, if I run into a sodomite, and even though Sodom is no longer a city in existence, if Sodom was a city, and here it is, she's the one woman in Sodom that's leaving Sodom, and she wants to honor the God of the Hebrews, and God said, that's the woman you're going to marry, then so be it. Because Hosea married a harlot, and I think she was a Hebrew. And ultimately she was vindicated, as a result of Hosea showing her that supernatural love that God has for his people. I yield.
All right. Thank you for that, brother. Man.
Can I have that? Or somebody else? Let
me get some of that real quick, and I'm going to pass the mic. Because, Israel. May the Most High help us in all the places that we are scattered. I just have two things I want to say. Yehoshua Joshua, right? The 23rd chapter, as Joshua was telling the people, he says, take good heed, therefore, unto yourselves, that you love the Most High your power. That's commandment number 1. Else, if you do in any wise go back and cleave unto the remnant of these nations, speaking of the 7, even these that remain among you, and shall make marriages with them, and go in unto them, and they to you, know for a certainty that the Most High your power will no more drive out any of these nations before you, but they shall be snares and traps unto you, and scourges in your sides, and thorns in your eyes, until you perish from off this good land which the Most High your power have given you. That's one. And then I have one more. As we go forward in Judges, when every man did what was right in his own eyes, and woman, you understand? It says here in the 3rd chapter and about, the 6th verse, it says, and they took, let me back up. And the children of Israel dwelt among the Canaanites, the Hittites, the Amorites, the Perizzites, the Hivites, and the Jebusites. Same people who Joshua just said get rid of. And they took their daughters to be their wives. They didn't listen. And gave their daughters to their sons. They didn't listen. And did what is inevitable, serve their gods. And the children of Israel did evil in the sight of the Most High and forgot the Most High their power and served Baalim and the groves. We the same people. I relinquished the mic.
but I would say that now you're adding to the example an extra ingredient that I didn't put in my example. I said you have a woman who left Sodom, and she wants to honor God. She wants to follow after the God of the Hebrews, my God. She wants to submit herself to the obedience of Torah law. She's willing to do everything. And you're telling me that I have to turn her back and say, no, go back to Sodom. There's nothing here for you. To me, that reminds me of a story that was talked about when he just met the woman at the well who was a Samaritan. Now here it is. You guys will say that Jesus wasn't there to deal with the Samaritans, but ultimately, after having an encounter with her, he went to Samaria and actually was entertained by Samaritan people. So God is basically showing, hey, I'm willing to deal with anybody who wants to obey me and follow after me.
All right. So here's my thing. Why did you have
hold
to sleep
on. I gotta jump in.
Hold on. I'm gonna say this one. I'm gonna say what Samson's mother and father said.
Hey.
Is there never any woman amongst the daughters of your people that you must go to this foreigner? Why is it that you skip all over the woman who bore you, the woman who nourished you in your womb, that who brought you forth? How much do you hate the daughters of your people? That she is so much like someone who you can just bypass because this woman has professed that she's going to go with the Most High. It's like, where are we? We're in like La La Land somewhere.
Why do we have to report these?
Hold on, y'all. Hold on. Stand by.
All right. Let's do it.
Yeah, listen. We only got like 26 minutes on the air, people. We got like 26 minutes on the air, and I have to get some of these questions from the emails.
Okay.
Hold on. Let me read the email question real quick. This is from Latoya. Thanks for tuning in, Latoya. It says, so going forward, what advice would you have for an Israelite woman who is married to and has children with a white man who is a Christian? How do the children play into this? All right, let's go to Ahwar The Swordsman. Go ahead, Ahwar.
Okay. Now, this is where it gets complicated, okay? Now, I'm going to say what the scriptures say. This is Matthew, the 13th chapter. The King of Kings, the Son of Man, spoke of it in a parable. This is Matthew 13, verse 24. It says, another parable he put forth unto them, saying, the kingdom of heaven is like unto a man which sowed good seed in his field. But while men slept, his enemy came and sowed tares among the wheat and went his way. These tares are these people that's in the middle among us. So we're going to see how the Son of Man was set up by the Most High. He's going to handle this. Okay? It says, but when the blade was sprung up and brought forth fruit, then appeared the tares also. So the servant of the householder came and said unto him, Sir, this not thou sow good seed in thy field? The good seed is us, right? It says, from whence then have it tares? This is talking about those offsprings. So that's the question. It's written in a parable format. Then it says, he said unto them, an enemy hath done this. So through our captivities and all that, the white man raped our people, raped our family, and some of us laid with these nations willfully. So Christ is going to fix this. The Messiah is going to fix this situation, and that's where it gets ugly. So let's see what he said. I'm going to go to another parable right quick, how he said. He said, this is verse 47 in the same chapter. It says, again, the kingdom of heaven is like unto a net that was cast into the sea and gathered of every kind, right? Which when it was full, they drew it to shore and sat down and gathered the good into vessels, but cast the bad away. That's where it gets ugly. Then it says, so shall it be at the end of the world. the angel shall come forth and sever the wicked from the just, and shall cast them into a furnace of fire. This is why this book is the most hated book in the planet, because it does not talk good. A lot of people have feelings about this book, and that's why they don't read the New Testament, they don't read about what the true Messiah is saying. It's going to get ugly and it's getting grisly. Okay, it's going to get grisly, man. Okay, the way the Most High is going to structure, he's going to put his plan back in order, what he organized from the beginning. He's sending his beloved son, and he's going to straighten all this out. There's going to be a lot of killing, a lot of disappointments and everything. He's going to put Israel back in power, and he's going to put the structure back together. So that's just what I'm bringing out in the scriptures. Now, if you like to be in these other nations, that's on you. That's your cross. That's it.
Okay. Ahwar, can I say something to that?
Yes, sir.
Because that's the parable. Now, you said that the wheats were growing amongst the tares. So, obviously, we can't tell the difference between a tare and a wheat until the wheat grows, it bears fruit, and it bows over. So if there's a physical way that we can determine who's going to make it in and who's not, this parable definitely doesn't tell us that. It has to be some fruit. So it's not going to be color that God is going to pick, because my thing is that example shows that these two plants really resemble each other. So it's going to be a fruit yielding issue, not a color based issue.
Let me respond.
Let me
respond to that right quick.
Answer the sister. I want to answer the sister.
Let me respond to that right quick.
About you guys.
Let me respond to this right quick. It says, this is St. John 10:27. That's what the Son of Man said. He said, my sheep hear my voice. That's what it's been reduced to right now, because we in captivity all mingled up. They got some of us, that's why I say in Romans 9, some is Israel, some not. So if this word appear to you and it go out and you might be one of these chosen elect, but if it don't and it don't interest you, you might be the seed of Satan. Well, go ahead, bro.
And then also, them wheat and tares don't look alike. The only issue is pulling them up at the same time to tear them up. He could see the wheat and the tares. He could see the difference. He's just saying wait to pull them up, or you're going to destroy the wheat. So it's not that they look alike. You can see the difference between the two, because the brother said that they look alike. But I didn't hear what the email question. Yeah, if I can hear that question again, I didn't want to cut the sister off. You can answer it. I just wanted to hear the question again she had.
Right. The sister's concerned with the fact that right now we're dealing with what should not happen, and what the Most High allows and doesn't allow. But we have to deal with the reality that some of these families are already in existence, and the sister's question is, what do we do now? You know, what if there's a woman that has a family with a white man or another nation that may be on that blacklist that we get in Deuteronomy 7 and 1 Kings and in Ezra? What happens when you find yourself already in that situation, be it because you didn't previously know, whatever the various reasons might be? Okay, sister, to that, our sister Emunah earlier brought out the case of the Israelitish woman. This woman was someone who had a father that was Egyptian. Her son was also necessarily second gen in this line. So that son has a similar issue. What you hear the brother discussing now in terms of wheats and tares is that an idea of waiting until somebody bears fruit. You see that the son of the Israelitish woman, he's among the congregation. He's in the camp. He's obviously now at the stage where he's old enough to strive with the man of Israel and speak against the Most High. And that's when he gets struck down. Now, what your responsibility is now to that child is that you raise that child in Torah, and you don't allow that child to depart from Torah, because that child is considered on Israel, among Israel. If you have him in the congregation and you have him among the people, the moment he says anything against the Most High, his life is marked. It's just like in this example, in this account, we find that the Israelite woman's son, his life is marked. Go get her mother, go get this child's mother, let her know that we're about to string him up. As soon as Moses went and got the word, that's what happened. There's penalties and there's consequences to that. So this is a condition that you have found yourself in, that you have a child that you yourself are Israel. They have a father who is not Israel. That child, those children, you still have a responsibility to teach them according to the law. So that's the answer to that question. It's not really, that's pretty much dealing with the aftermath of this conversation that we're having about prohibitions and permissions. But after that stage is done, the milk has been spilled and the water's under the bridge. How do we deal with the aftermath? And since that's all I can tell you. Torah says what Torah says, but the people do what the people do. And once the people have done what the people have done, we have to go back to the blueprint and do what we're supposed to do and what we should have done. So raise your child correctly, raise your child according to the Torah, and make sure that he doesn't depart from it. And that's what I have for you, and I yield with that.
All right, people, we have like 19. Yeah, I'm going to let you go. But we have like 19 minutes on the air, people. We have 19 minutes on the air. We're going to get some more questions for people on social media. Of course, I got a whole lot of email questions. I know I won't pretty much get to everything tonight, but we're probably going to make a...
Hey, we can do a part two. Yeah,
exactly.
You can do a part two. I'm all for it. I'm all for it if you do a part two.
All right, I appreciate you. All right, but go ahead. Before we go to the next call, go ahead. Sorry.
I'll keep it simple. Anybody that's made any mistake, if you're married to a white person, whatever the case may be, that's the whole point of us being lost. It's no different than if you was a drug addict or something like that. Now, only, I guess, the complication of it is that you can't get divorced because then it's like you committing a sin to clean up the sin that you committed. So if you're married to anybody of another race and then you find that you're in Israel and you repent, you don't have to leave that wife or husband. For the women, you got a hard life though, because that child you have is going to be the child of a heathen.
Right.
So you got a hard ass life. I'm sorry about that. I mean, you're looking at your kids and they're gonna die. But for the man, your children are still Israel. This is by no way to excuse anybody doing it, but you can be forgiven for any sin you did before you came into the knowledge. So it's not held against you. It's only if you mainly do it afterwards, which is what Hebrews 10:25 says. If we sin willfully after we have gained the knowledge of the truth, then there is no forgiveness of sins, and so there'll be a punishment that comes from that. I know you got more questions, so I didn't want to talk too long about that.
Yeah, it's cool. Just read maybe one more, and after that, I got some people standing by, guys. I apologize. I'm going to get to you, call. I'm going to get to the callers. I got one more question I got to get to on the emails. Let me see what it says here. It says, how about those couples that already has kids and got married before they gave their lives to the Most High? What advice would you give to them? Are they to break up? All right. Let's go to...
I think...
Yeah, they get his answer. But anybody, Emunah, you want to try to tackle that again or no? Yeah.
No, I think the brother just answered it.
Yeah,
like
he did. Yeah.
We have to bear our. That's what the Most High said. He scattered us here, and we have to bear our iniquities and come to terms with the fact that even before we knew, it's like we were born into this. We didn't know, but we still have to bear our iniquity until we repent before the Creator. So definitely, as Mayanah said, Brother Tazaryach just said, this is part of your portion, and definitely teach the children the way in which they should go, because there is a stranger among you. Ezekiel speaks about the portion of the stranger that's among you. So it's not to say that, I'm not of that thought process, because Ezekiel says there's going to be space among you for the stranger. There's the water bringer, and it's not to be funny. Some people take it to another degree, but there is the hewer of wood and the water bringer. There are people amongst you that are going to be there to not necessarily be your slave to that degree, but are going to Israel to a certain degree. You understand? So to think that, you're going to have a place of all Israel and there's nobody else around, Ezekiel says something else. And so I would say, continue to teach your children in the way that they should go, because at a certain point, all nations are supposed to come up and worship the true and living power. This is not like how the Ashkenazis do. Nah, get out of here. You can't come through. You know what I'm saying? It's just that there is an order. And we see in the Torah when you do go out of order, when you pick up your incense and think that you can offer when it's not your turn, but you go into the holy, you get slapped with leprosy. So for us to think the spiritual Israel thing is going to just supersede everything that the Most High left on record, that's a setup, But I relinquished the mic at this point so you could get to the callers, Brother Sal. I probably jumped around, but hopefully the caller understood. Just stay the course. Stay the course.
All right, people, we got like 15 minutes on the air, So let's go to the people out there on the phone lines. Again, the number is 646-716-7320. Let's go to 702-439. You're live in air.
Yes, I'm going to say first and foremost, I'm taking a neutral stance. This is Brother Joseph. I'm out of Dallas right now. Facebook page is Adek Dean. But questions that I don't feel like was substantially answered. So I want to kind of recap over the questions, and then I wanted to, the brother had brought out a scripture that I don't think was substantially answered also. So I just want to kind of re-elaborate on them. And first and foremost, I'm going to say, so y'all try to jump on me, I like my own people, but, this ain't about what I like. But the first scripture I'm going to go to is, the first thing I'm going to go in order. One of the brothers that said, what about the ones that you can't tell from black or white whether or not they are who they are, because he gave two examples as far as Lenny Kravitz looking black and his father actually being white, and then also the brother from Prison Break looking white but his father and his lineage being of Jamaican. So with that course, it's like looking at a race. It's, to me, it really, a color doesn't really set you apart, because you can marry a brother that look like a brother and you find out in his lineage his grandfather was actually a white dude. So then therefore you already, in your eyes, hey, you already done messed up. So, or great-grandfather or whatever down the line, you might have to ask all them questions. So do you feel like you need to have some kind of application where you're saying, well, who was your grandfather? Who was your father? Who was your great-great-grandfather? Let me see some pictures and let me see some birth certificates. I think that was the one question. Then the other question, the young lady said, or I don't want to call her young lady, but young lady said, the one in captivity was a jump off. But in Scripture, he says in 13, and you go into her and be her husband, and she shall be your wife. So it wasn't of a lower, you know what I'm saying? Because also, if you look at that scripture in 13, you put aside the mantle of her captivity. So at that point, when you become husband and wife, like the brother said, technically she was of another nation. So how was that actually, on a technical status, how was that actually looked at? And another thing I wanted to say, because there's a lot y'all to hit, and I'm trying to wrap it up quick. One of the brothers that said, the original reason why we was destroyed because of the intermingling, and I just want to say, according to some of the outside books that they might not tell you to read, that truly isn't what that was, because I know a lot of doctors are going around about the sons of men, and sons of God and the daughters of men. But that's a whole other subject. And so I think that scripture right there, you have to look under the title microscope in Genesis 6 to find out that you might have to throw that one out to use in your repertoire. Another thing that was said was going into the daughters of other nations, and they're turning your heart. And this is where I see it from both sides, just being a neutral party. It is an obedience thing, because every example that was given about what Israel did was about people that went to these wives, and these wives was actually heathen by belief and not just heathen by nationality. So they wasn't just following the Most High. I don't think it's one, maybe I'm wrong, but y'all can point this out. Is it one scripture that shows a nation that followed after the Most High and was obedient, that you can't turn a heart from two people that actually follow the Most High? But example where he said, you know what, their wives was following after the Most High, but I will destroy you anyway because you went into another nation. I think the biggest thing, or what we have to look at a broader aspect, is why. And that's why I say, this isn't just a surface level, and a lot of times we're looking at it at surface level, and I think one of the brothers is trying to bring in a obedience factor, but he's not getting his point across the way he really wants to see it. But I kind of see what he's saying, and then, y'all looking at it on a surface level, but I think it has to be kind of brought to a medium, per se, because every example given is heathen, and they turn in their heart.
In 30 seconds. I can clarify in 30 seconds. The 12 tribes of Israel were brothers, and there were two sisters that were born to Jacob. Now, if it was not necessary for them to intermarry, then
Israel would have been intermarrying with those sisters and having children with those two sisters. It was just obvious in the first few generations they had to get women from outside of the tribe in order to start, the different tribes. So if you're saying that, by virtue of being a woman from Sodom, that she can't come and join the camp of Israel because her genetic thing, I would say the Bible says that it's appointed man once to die and then judgment. And it's not going to be the genetics that God is going to judge you on. It's going to be what you did in this body. He's going to judge you for what you did, not for who your daddy was or who your uncle was. It was for all that was given to you, you will be judged on that. So that's, to me, in a nutshell, that destroys the whole issue of intermarriage. It's an issue of, are you going to honor God with your life and do the things that he's called you to do and made you to do, or not? If you are, then, hey, you are in. If you're not, you are a heathen. You're a pagan. And I know some people, my wife, for example, is totally alien to a lot of the things that I'm teaching, but I see her starting to grow in the grace and knowledge of my Savior. But I'm not going to put her out because she's being influenced by the good conversation, just as Paul had described. And I yield the floor.
All right, Brother Sal, I wanted to, this is Emunah, I wanted to comment on the jump-off comment. Thank you, everybody. Yeah, this is interesting. That's all I have to say. It's interesting to see our mind and our thought processes and our personal desires influencing the way in which we filter what it is that we're reading. But consider the jump comment being that I'm the one who made it. The reason why I said jump off is because when we look at Deuteronomy 21, the space in which in 11, if you see among the captives a beautiful woman that has a desire unto her, that you would have her to your wife. Oftentimes, not every time you see to your wife, that actually means the individual is your wife. Because of the way the translators translated that, oftentimes that is a misconception. And sometimes it says woman. But here's why I called her a jump off. It tells him what you should do. She should put her up to bring her home to your house, shave her head and par her nails, and put on the raiment of her captivity from off her, and shall remain in your house and bewail her father and mother. She's an orphan, a full month, and after that you shall go in unto her and be her husband, and she shall be a wife. That's what it says, right, in the English. And it shall be, if you have no delight in her, then you shall let her go, whither she will. That's not the Torah for a wife. But you shall not sell her for money. You shall not make merchandise of her, because you have humbled her. That is not the prescription, as they would say, for divorce in the Hebraic culture. You're talking about a foreign woman, right, in which you can treat differently, but you don't treat a daughter of Israel in that way. You have to do it in order. And you wouldn't run up on a daughter of Israel, murk her parents, bring her to your house, and if you don't like her, shorty, you can bounce. That's not how it happens, and this is the reason why, just in the gist of the conversation, I called her a jump-off, because it would go a whole different way if that was a daughter of Zion. So with that, I yield the mic.
What I noticed is that there's a reason why Ezekiel, the 3rd chapter, says in the 6th verse, it says, not too many people of a strange speech and of a hard language whose words thou cannot understand, but a hard-hearted people. I've never seen a set of people fight so much to be able to sleep with a white woman, African woman, Asian. I've never seen it a day of my life. I've never seen it. Just like I've never seen a race of people. Now, I'll go off topic just for a second since everybody did it. Just like I've never seen a race of people defend other nations as much as we do. Like the sin that we commit, like Jeremiah, the 17th chapter, and I believe it's the 4th verse, I get it, is like a diamond tip on us. Like now we pulling up every scripture on the planet to say how we not supposed to sleep with another nation. Nobody's bringing a scripture up that's saying that we could, but they bringing up instances, well, they could be a part of the covenant, they could do this, they could do that. It's all nonsense. It has nothing to do with the subject matter that we're teaching, because even if we were to teach that subject, they ain't a part of the covenant either. At all. They are supposed to be second-class citizens. You don't sleep with the second-class citizens, especially when the Most High told you not to sleep with the second-class citizens. And a lot of this interracial, now, of course, we was doing it prior to, but in today's time, this defense that we have of white people is a product of slavery as well, which a lot of people don't speak about when it comes to interracial dating, and which is why it's never going to work. Whether you believe in the Bible or not, you got black people that don't believe in the Bible, but when they see a black person, male or female, with a white person or another nation, they look at them with disdain. And that has nothing really to do with a law that we follow. That has to do with the hundreds and hundreds of years of oppression that we've had by all of these oppressors. The white man is the number one oppressor, but let's not give a pass to them funky Africans. Let's not give a pass to them Arabs. Let's not give a pass to none of these nations that eat us every day, period. But when you see that black woman or that black man with another woman of another race or man of another race, you look at them with disdain because we have never gotten over the atrocities that have been committed to us. And so the paradigm that involves is you got one race of people that have never gotten over it. You got another race of people that have never decided to stop. And what I mean by stop, they've never decided to stop eating us. They still eat us. So whether you found 4 or 5 good white people or African people or whatever that get along, that does not erase the millions of others that eat us. So we have to recognize that paradigm too. It is disgusting when I see people on this line that are telling me that it's okay to sleep with somebody of another nation and then say they love the Most High as well. That's why Christ said they honored me with their lips, but their heart is far from me. Because if you truly love the Most High and you're reading Deuteronomy the 7th chapter, you're reading Tobit the 4th chapter, reading Ezra and Nehemiah how they brought it out, reading about Solomon and seeing how all of them fell, reading about Samson, how all of them fell, sleeping with some nasty heathen, and you actually going to make a point to defend it? Like, that's like defend. If that's the case, if you're going to tell me I can sleep with a white woman, then I can worship Baal. I can put that cross on my neck. I could bow down to that rock in Mecca, because all of it should be passed, because God knows your heart. It is idiotic to have that thought process and believe in the Bible. If you want to sleep with white women or African women or something like that, don't use God as the excuse. Just use your lust as the excuse, because that's all it is. Or here's another paradigm. Like sometimes they say, well, the white man is not angry all the time, or the white woman is not angry all the time because the black woman, she loud mouth, or the black man, he this or he that. That's another sign of defeat for our people. That's another sign of not loving our people. Because the black woman is the way that she is because she's an oppressed woman. The black man is the way that he is because he's an oppressed man. That's why Ecclesiastes say oppression maketh a wise man mad. Now, if you actually had love for your people, you wouldn't say, I'm going to abandon them because this black woman is angry all the damn time or this black man is angry all the time. Why don't we have a care for our people to say, I'm going to deal with this black woman and I'm going to show her how to be loved. I'm going to deal with this black man. I'm going to show him how to be loved. And let's fix that paradigm. But we always run into somebody else to fix our condition, somebody else to make us feel good, and it just never works. And that's why we stay in this condition. So whether you use a biblical perspective or if you use a worldly perspective, sleeping with anyone from another nation is a detriment to our people. I pass the floor.
Can I come in on that?
All right, although I gotta jump in real quick. We only have like a few minutes left on social media. If you want to hear the rest of the show, we're gonna go into the overtime part of the show. But I'm gonna take 2 more callers though, and after that we're gonna pretty much get some last words from the special guest. Again, you're gonna have to call in to hear the rest of the show. The number is 646-716-7320. We're gonna go off air on social media and on Blog Talk Radio. If you want to hear the rest of the show, you gotta call in via phone or via Skype. But go ahead, Ahwar, and after that we're gonna get to the next caller. Okay.
Yeah, right quick. I just want to say, man, let me put down Israel's rank, because the brother mentioned about this one blood, this one race. We always look. I guess he figured there's no race but the human race. Look what Ezra the prophet said. This is 2nd Ezra 6, verse 54. And after these, Adam also, whom thou madest love of all thy creatures, of him come we all, and the people also whom thou hast chosen. All this have I spoken before thee, O Lord, because thou madest the world for our sake.
Our
This world
sake.
was made for us, man. We ain't sharing it with nobody, okay? Then it says, as for the other people, which also come of Adam, those that all you guys that like that jungle fever, look what the Lord said, okay? Thou hast said that they are nothing. That's how your Lord feel about them, okay? Go get Isaiah 40, verse 17 and tell you the rest.
17.
It says, right, it says, as for the other people which also came of Adam, thou hast said that they are nothing but be like unto spittle, and hast likened the abundance of them unto a drop that falls from a bucket. So if you want to lay with the help, go ahead. I'm going to leave you with that.
Good point. Good
Gotta
point,
go to the phone lines. Got to go to the phone lines real quick. Let's go to 443-815, live and air.
Yeah, hi, brothers and sisters. This is Mercy again. This is a very good conversation, but I like how my brother from the ISUPK tap dance over Acts 10:28. This brother, this white dude, was definitely white because he was a Gentile. It didn't say he was a Hebrew Israelite. And then we go back to a Gentile is not a Hebrew Israelite, okay? Then we go to verse 22. The Jews love this guy. They love this white man. You know, a lot of black people love white people, you know.
You're in Acts the 10th chapter, right? You're in verse 22 in Acts?
Verse 22.
Okay. No,
and they loved him. They said all the Jews love this guy. You know why they love him? Because he worshiped the God of Israel, right? But just because you white and you worship the God of Israel don't make you a black Hebrew Israelite. You're still white. Now see, this is the deception. And like my niece, for example. If a white man comes to my doorstep and say, you know, I worship the God of Israel, I keep Torah, all that stuff, but you're still white, okay? Interracial relations, in my opinion, is wrong. And I'm going to tell you why. If you go to then you go to Romans chapter 13, verse 1. It talks about this. This is what black people forget. It say, obey the government, for God is the one who put it there. All governments have been placed in power by God. And what people black people forget about America is this. It was against the law for many years for interracial marriages. In fact, it was against the law for black people to marry black people. We couldn't marry each other.
I got you. Hey, brother, for time. Hey, brother, for time's sake, can I just?
Almost done.
Okay, no sweat.
And it's still against the law in some states on the books to this day. So I just wanted to say that. So it's sinful illegally. And I'm done with that.
Okay. No sweat. I'm going to just answer you real fast. You said that Israelites are not Gentiles. By default, we're not Gentiles. We're not supposed to be. But when you get a Bible dictionary or when you understand the scriptures, you know exactly. This is Gentiles in the Bible dictionary, and then I'm going to give you a scripture to back up my point with the Gentiles and Cornelius. Gentiles in the Zondervan Bible Dictionary, it says translated Gentiles in the Old Testament 30 times, people 11 times, heathen 142 times, nation 307 times, being the usual translation. Sometimes Goy refers to Israel. You understand that? Goy being what Gentile would be in Greek or Hebrew. So when you're saying that they can be, the Bible dictionary tells you that in some cases we were called Gentiles. If your son wasn't circumcised on the 8th day, you were not considered an Israelite. You were cut off. If you didn't keep the Passover by coming back to Jerusalem, you were considered cut off by Jews to where they would call you heathens. The northern kingdom in 1 Kings, the 17th chapter, or it might be 2 Kings, the 17th chapter, when they was cast out of or kicked out of the land, they were no longer considered Israelites by the tribes that remained, which were Judah, Benjamin, and Levi, which was the whole point of Christ saying, go not into the way of the Gentiles, but go to the lost sheep of the house of Israel. Now, in Acts 21 and the 19th chapter, Paul says, and when he had saluted them, he declared particularly what things the Most High had wrought among the Gentiles by his ministry. Again, we see the word Gentiles. Verse 20, and when they had heard it, they glorified the Lord and said unto him, thou seest, brother, how many thousands of Jews there are which believe, and they are zealous of the law. You notice the change in context. It went from saying he wrought among the Gentiles to saying thousands of Jews. And this is why he said it. Verse 21, and they are informed of thee, that thou teachest all the Jews which are among the Gentiles to forsake Moses. Meaning, when we go to New York City, for example, if I'm teaching in New York City and I'm teaching in Harlem, my voice goes out to everybody. It goes out to black people, Hispanic people, white people. Everybody hears my voice. But my message is only to a particular people. So I'm going to the city of New York to teach to the New Yorkians, so to speak. But when I'm teaching, it's only to a specific paradigm. So you always have to check the context of what's being mentioned in any scripture, in any verse, to understand if it's talking about an Israelite or an Israelite that was cut off from the nation. And that was Paul's mission. That's why in Galatians, the 2nd chapter, when Peter and Paul spoke, Peter said, I'll deal with the Jews, you deal with the Gentiles. I'm paraphrasing what he said. But the Gentiles that Paul went and dealt with were not non-Israelites. They were Israelites. They were the Israelites in Corinthians, the Israelite in Galatians, the Israelites in Romans. That's why even Peter said in 1:1, to the strangers scattered throughout Cappadocia, Galatia, etc. James 1:1 says to this letter sent to the Jews scattered amongst the Israelites scattered amongst the four corners of the earth. We're not calling ourselves Israelites when we're out in those other places. We're calling ourselves by the land that we live in. So that's why, and again, that scripture in Acts the 10th chapter never calls Cornelius an Italian. It says he was a member of the Italian band. I used to be in the Army in 94. So I would be, my name such and such, in the American band. That don't make me white because I'm in the military. It just means that was my profession. That's what I did, and that was Cornelius. It says he was of the Italian band. It does not call him Italian in that verse at all.
All right, people, we got to
done.
go take one more caller. And after that, we're going to pretty much get some last words from the special guest. We're going to definitely have to do a part 2 to this. And we're probably going to have to make it during the weekday sometime. But let's go to 609. Where you at? 609-284. You're live on air.
It was good. Appreciate you for having me on, though, Sal. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I did that on purpose. You know what I'm saying? Using the word asinine. I really wasn't directing it to the people up here. I mean, it was for a specific person, but what I want to say is, regardless of what we heard today, still didn't answer nor clarify the fact of what I was bringing out about the war captive women. It's not about what happens to the people in the land that the actual captive woman is born at. Like, you know, going there, killing the people, and then bringing them back home, but then we ain't treating another woman in Israel like that. No, we're not. The fact of the matter is, you got Tazaryach over here saying we can't sleep with them, but we got a law that said we can use them for a jump off. It don't make sense. Because either way you're going inside of them, and either way it can be an influence to get you to commit a sin. Now let's really read why the Most High tells us don't intermarry, not interracial marry. Like the people are forgetting the fact that when you're looking at the Bible, everybody's of one blood. You know what I'm saying?
Hey, brother.
Now when you go to Nehemiah chapter 13, verses 26, it says, was it not because of marriages like these that Solomon, king of Israel, sinned among the many nations? There was no king like him. He was loved by his God, and God made him king over all Israel. But even he was led into sin by foreign women. Now, if anybody up here is telling me that if somebody from another nation wholeheartedly comes to the Most High, which they do, that I cannot enter into them, you will not find that in Scripture. So everybody's saying, let's make sure we make a point in Scriptures, but that's not
I agree.
Now,
I agree with you, brother.
Now going on to Nehemiah chapter 13, verse 27. This is what Nehemiah is saying. Now, must we hear now that you two are doing all this terrible wickedness and are being unfaithful to our God by marrying foreign women? Now, we just gave you the reason why he said don't marry no foreign women. Because they led him astray to serve other gods. That means that they were still able to do things. They were not under the authority of Israel, just like a captive woman would be. She had no power to try to get somebody out of Israel to go worship their God after you go into crush their nation. She has no power to do that. She has to shave her hair. She has to clip her nails. She gets the more.
Yeah.
So I use that as an example.
You want to know? Okay, let me. Okay, let me let some.
Hold on, King. I'm gonna let you dialogue. Go ahead, Tazaryach. Go ahead.
I appreciate it. Let me let some air out the room with everybody using Deuteronomy 21:10 to think that the enemy is a heathen. You have to read Deuteronomy 21 in the first chapter. In the first verse, rather. That whole chapter is talking about Israel going to war with each other. Now, I know that's going to be a hard pill for y'all to swallow that want to sleep. Listen, we got a breakdown on this online. You know what I mean? If we had more time, I would be more than glad to break it down. I believe the line's going to stay open when we go off the air. But Deuteronomy 21:1 starts off with, if one be found slain in the land which the Lord thy Most High giveth thee and possess it. It's all Israel. It ain't no heathen. If you're telling me, here's the contradiction, and this is how you know it's not. If Deuteronomy 21:10 is talking about a white person, then everything that you're saying overrides Deuteronomy the 7th chapter. So you're telling me in one law, the Lord is saying, thank you. So you're telling me in one law, he's saying that you cannot sleep with nobody. You can't sleep with nobody. But then there's another law where there's a condition where you can sleep with somebody?
No, you said that you can't.
No, I'm saying what you're saying.
Jump off. So I'm just using both of y'all statements to show that it is,
Number one,
it is the same thing. It's the same thing.
Second.
Sleeping with somebody
I
from
did
another
not.
nation.
One second, brother. I did not say on this phone call, which you can all go back to, that under any condition it's okay to sleep with another one. I laughed
I didn't
at the
say you
system
said
what
that.
you said.
I
Okay,
didn't
no
say
sweat.
That you said that, though.
I'm saying.
I didn't say
I'm
that you
saying
said
that. I appreciate it. I'm saying
I didn't say you
that
said
there's
that.
there is no scripture that justifies sleeping with any woman from another nation. Period. Now, there's scriptures where brothers may say again.
I said I just read one, and I gave read why we can't sleep with other nations.
There's scriptures where brothers made mistakes sleeping with other women, but you cannot. Absolutely. Okay, so you're saying when Samson did that, was that a mistake or was it right?
No, that wasn't a mistake. Is something you didn't need to do. Samson knew better. He knew that she was a Philistine.
When we read the scriptures, I'm explain. When you read Romans 15:4 and it says, "Whatsoever was written aforetime was written for our learning," meaning when we read the scriptures, we're supposed to learn from them, right?
Exactly.
Okay, so when we read about Samson and how he slept with that woman, do we look at that as right or do we look at it as a mistake?
No,
is that right for him to do?
We have to look at it within inside of its context. She was a woman that was still worshiping other gods, and she belonged to the Philistines. She wasn't coming underneath the power and authority of Israel. I don't understand what's not being understood about the critique of the scriptures or even reading in context of the scriptures. You know what I'm saying? And you kind of breaking up over there.
What happens a lot of times?
Yeah, what I'll do is, King and Shy, what I'm going to do, when we do the part 2, man, hopefully you got time. I'm going to bring you on. Bring you on the panel, man. Yeah, because, you know, y'all got a lot of things you want to ask, things of that nature, so I appreciate you, man. We got to pretty much wrap this up. But anybody else has a comment before we wrap it up? Go ahead.
I got one.
Before we wrap it up? Yeah, go ahead.
This Bro.Jerrel. Are we giving our closing comments now?
Oh, yeah, go ahead. Closing comments, yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, my question that we could probably address more carefully in part 2 would be, of the 12 tribes of the founding fathers of these tribes. I'm talking about Benjamin, Judah, Asher. Of those 12 brothers that were that Jacob produced, who did these men marry, and how were they welcomed into the house of Israel? And if you're going to tell me that these men slept with the 2 sisters, then I would be in wholehearted agreement of your view. Now, on a personal basis, I'll give you the perfect example. I believe that God has given me enough strength in knowing and understanding his word to make the statement that the white mainstream society has nothing to offer me. So I don't seek after the things that they value. I don't seek after the things that they pursue as being worthwhile things to do as their culture moves forward. So if I'm going to interact with, say, a white woman and take her in consideration for marriage, she is going to have to be submissive
to be obedient to the God that I serve. So I believe, just as the last caller presented, it's a matter of domination versus submission. And we see with the example of King Solomon that the reason why he did what he did was for treaties, was for some type of political advantage, and God told him, don't do it, for the very reasons why Solomon's kingdom was ultimately destroyed. So I would just say I'm in wholehearted agreement that God, he is looking for those who are going to submit themselves to be obedient, to honor and worship him and him alone. And I could care less, just like him, if a crippled white woman that tells me she loves me and somehow God tells me you love her and she's willing to honor God in the manner that is prescribed in his word, and I'm not married, and God says that's going to be your wife, so be it. Hosea did the same thing, and he was dealing with a woman that was a straight whore. And my thing is, just give me 30 more seconds, I'm done. Isaiah chapter 47 actually describes how the Hebrew women were acting, and God wasn't pleased with them at all. So if God can be displeased with his own people and basically telling them, you are taken off of your throne because you're going after these other people, that was the issue. It was not an issue of race. It was an issue of their whoring after the other nations and following after their customs and traditions. And I'm done. I thank you for letting me be on the show, and I look forward to hopefully being a guest on the next one. I promise not to try to hog the line.
It's all good. It's all good. That's Bro.Jerrel right there, right on Debate Talk for You Radio. We're going to get some final words from the special guest. Let's go to Ahwar The Swordsman. Final words, guys.
Yeah, final word is let's get the understanding on why the Father does not want us to intermingle with these different nations. This is Ecclesiasticus in Apocrypha 26, verses 20. When thou hast gotten a fruitful possession for all thy fields, sow it with thine own seed, trusting in the goodness of thy stock. Now here's the understanding. So thy race, which thou grievest, shall be magnified, right? Having the confidence of their good descent. And let me say this too before I go. The New Testament, the King of Kings, support what the Father's will is. Because a lot of people try to think the New Testament is giving that license that all nations is only one race, the human race. And I'm going to read this. This is Romans 9, start at 1. I say the truth in Christ, Yahweh Shah, I lie not. My conscience also bear me witness in the Holy Spirit. Now, Paul saying the Holy Spirit is giving bear witness to this. He said that I have great heaviness and continual sorrow in my heart, for I could wish that I myself were accursed from Christ for my brethren, my kinsmen. You see the blood relation? Okay?
Damn right.
According to the flesh, who are Israelites. Did anybody read Gentiles there? Okay? Who are Israelites, to whom pertaineth the adoption. You know what the adoption is? It tells you the adoption of being sons of the Most High. Okay? Then it says, and the glory, and the covenants, the kingdom, the covenants. Okay? Did the covenant, was the covenant made with all these other nations? No. Okay? Then it says, and the giving of the law. Who the law was given to? Was it given to the Gentiles? So if you're going to marry them, how are they going to be married in this? Explain this to me. Then it says, and the service of the Most High, and the promises. Okay? Then it says, who are the fathers of whom, as concerning the flesh, Christ came. So how are you going to fit your heathen woman in this? But I'm going to leave it like that, and it was a pleasure, Cap, and all the sisters. It was a pleasure, and the other brother, Jerry, was good too. And with that, I'm going to say shalom.
Say shalom, brother.
That's Ahwar The Swordsman right there. We're going to have you back on next week. By the way, people, next week, of course, we do this every Monday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, the Relationship Challenge. We're going to have, what's the topic? Am I unequally yoked? Am I unequally yoked? That's going to be next week's topic on Debate Talk Radio. And the next Monday, we're going to have another one. Are we to seek family approval before getting in a relationship? And the third one will be infidelity. Should I stay or should I go? Infidelity. Should I stay or should I go?
Those are some good topics.
Let me know if you want to join in, brother. It's all good.
I'm going to let you know. For sure.
All right. All right, being that you speaking already, go ahead. Final words, brother. Go ahead.
No sweat. I appreciate it. Y'all need to, well, not the people on the planet, but this brother that's talking about Hosea slept with hoes. Stop that shit, man. Excuse my language. I'm sorry. I did not mean to say that. I apologize.
Keep it clean. Keep it clean, bro.
I'm sorry. I apologize for that. I apologize. When you read Hosea, the first chapter, read the second chapter to just understand it's a metaphor for the children of Israel. And, of course, you have to have a precept. And the Lord did the same thing with Ezekiel. When you read Ezekiel, the 23rd chapter, and you start at the first verse, the word of the Lord came unto me again, saying, Son of man, there were two women, the daughters of one mother, and they committed whoredoms in Egypt. They committed whoredoms in their youth. There were their breasts pressed, and there they bruised the teats of their virginity. And the names of them were Aholah, the elder, and Aholibah, her sister. And they were mine, and they bare sons and their daughters. Thus their names, Samaria is Aholah, and Jerusalem Aholibah, meaning the Lord was comparing, making a feminine or woman being a whore comparison to the northern kingdom and the southern kingdom. That's why when you read the whole chapter of Hosea, the reason why it says call her name, call one Lo-Ramah, because, hold up, I don't want to say the wrong name. Bear with me 1 second. When it tells them that they conceived, and he took Gomer, and he took this one, and they called one Jezreel for yet a little while. This is Hosea 1:4. For yet a little while will I avenge the blood of Jezreel upon the house of Jehu, and will cause to cease the kingdom. Now, when you read that whole chapter, you see that it's a parable. It's a metaphor. Stop saying that the Lord, like when you do stuff like that and say that the Lord let Hosea sleep with whores, then somebody will say, the Lord let me be a homosexual. The Lord let me commit adultery. The Lord let me murder. The Lord let me do that. The Lord don't let nobody sin against his law, period. James 1 says, let no man say when they are tempted, I am tempted of the Most High, for I cannot be tempted with evil. So we got to stop that mindset. That's some Christianity mumbo-jumbo that let you think it's okay to sleep with whores. I appreciate everybody having me on the panel, the sisters, the brothers, Sal, of course. If y'all, I would be more than glad to come back on the show. This is a very important topic because it's a topic that really focuses on black unity. And what I mean by that is the whole reason we're doing this is because we're so destroyed mixing with every other nation on the face of the planet. And once we mix it with them people, we forget about our own people. You start getting with white women, you forget about your people. You get with them Africans, you forget about your people. But they never forget about their people. Never. That white woman or white man that you sleep with still are down with their people. Same thing with Africans. Same thing with Asians and Arabs. And black people need to learn that it's time for us to come together. That's why Zephaniah 2:1 says, gather yourselves together, O nation not desired. We undesirable to our own selves. So that's all I got to say. I appreciate y'all having me on. Lord be with y'all.
I appreciate you as well. Definitely hit me up in the inbox when you want to come back on, brother. I got you.
Yeah, no sure. I'll definitely do that.
Most definitely. Let's go to Mayanah. Mayanah, any last words? Go ahead.
All right, shalom. I want to address quickly in my closing statement some of the things that our brother Jerrel and our other brothers have brought up, and the callers as well, real quick. First, to the brothers who thought that we did not address the Lenny Kravitz dynamic, we absolutely did. We stated that, for the most part, certain congregations consider just 3 generations. And if you can't have a conversation, you burn into the extent that you can't have a conversation long enough to be, who's your granddaddy? Do you know your father? Do you know your father's father? I mean, that's a conversation you can have. I mean, it just took me 3 seconds to ask it. So that's not a hard thing to do. And in terms of not addressing how Ezra plays out, and Deuteronomy 7 plays out, you are asking us to insert escape clauses and back doors to where the Most High didn't put any. The scripture tells us not to add or take away. If he says these are the 7 nations that are greater than you, and I don't want you to make any covenants with them, that's all he said. He didn't say unless there was no clause to that, no exception clause. It was, this is why, and that's it. So you don't get to insert one. We don't get to insert one. So that's why we didn't put one there. That's what he said, and that's what we stuck to. It's not that we were being surface, we were being obedient, and that's something that needs to be understood. We tend to be obedient to Torah and not make it yield to our sensibilities and our desires. Our brother Jerrel has had some very interesting and persistent views. However, the insistence upon the hooker with the heart of gold and can we bring it into the fold, this is not what the scriptures are talking about. And when the scripture says we don't marry with other nations, he doesn't say unless that nation is cool. He never said that. You don't have to include that. If the woman is sincere, if she wants to worship the Most High, then you give her a cot and you let her do that. But you don't have to bring her into your bed and reward her with your body because she decided she's going to worship our power. Then we're talking very clearly about marriage covenants and the preservation of that. We tried to talk to you earlier about property and inheritance. When we brought up our forefathers and we brought up our ancestors, there were issues of inheritance and property that were involved in this. Like, for example, when you see where Ahab decided that he wanted to lay up with Jezebel, Ahab goes to Nabal and says, I want your vineyard. Nabal says, I cannot give this to you. Ahab wasn't from another nation, but we had laws. We do not extend our boundaries past a certain point. We began early with endogamy. Y'all so concerned about white people that we tended to marry within our own branches. So you're worried so much about the stranger, well, you're not even understanding it. We were so deep in endogamy that we kept it within our branches. Don't worry about the stranger. We were trying to keep things righteous because what we had planted among our children, we wanted to keep that pure. Elders made those decisions. You are concerned about the chick you met in Sodom, and she would have to pass the snip test of your father and your father's father and the whole family and clan on your side. It wasn't about Romeo and Juliet. It was about the Montagues and whatever. I can't think of my knuckle. But here's what my point is, that we're talking about nation building and nation preservation, and it's really hard to build a nation with foreign materials. And you have to just be okay with the fact that your peoples are the people that the Most High has set apart and asked you to build within that nation. We are not saying that the Most High is not going to extend mercies to other people. We're not saying that the Most High is not going to extend his word to other people. Obviously, the Most High is the Most High of all of creation, being that he created all of creation. But he is saying that you are a set-apart person. It is okay to be precious. It is okay to be separate. Give yourself permission to be special. We have a problem being special. I don't know why. I don't know what part of the slavery mentality keeps us from saying it is okay for us to be a precious and peculiar people. We need to be okay with that so we can make the appropriate strides within our nation. Before you can go and extend your helping hand to the hooker with the heart of gold, you have to make sure that your house is in order, that your home is stable. Before you can give her a guest room, you don't have to give her access to the king's room. But if you want to have a space for her, you have to build your house first. We don't have a house, and that's a problem. And that's why we don't understand property. We don't understand inheritance. We don't understand having anything for our grandchildren because we don't own anything. So if we want to talk about nation building, let's build the nation. And let's concentrate on our people and do what we were supposed to do. The problem is that we're a rebellious people. And when the Most High says do this or don't do that, we say, but we want this and we like that. We have to stop being rebellious children and follow our Father and get in line. We talk about Deuteronomy 28, all the curses, and we act like we know where it came from. So we need to fall back and be obedient and stop being rebellious and contentious people. And with that, I relinquish the mic, and I thank all of my siblings on the panel and the audience for calling in and participating, and even the brother that called us on SNI. Good luck, good looking out, love to you. So shalom to everybody. This was Mayanah.
All right, that's Sister Mayanah right there. Can you hear me, guys? Can you hear me? Okay. Yeah, that's Sister Mayanah. I appreciate you coming on, of course, and we're going to definitely see you next week right here on Debate Talk Radio. Let's go to the creator of the segment right here, the Relationship Challenge, Emunah, First Lady of Debate Talk for you, like I always say. That's the last words. Last words. Yeah.
Oh, I forgot to turn down the fire. It's late, so everybody go and simmer down, turn down the fire, you know what I mean? Don't let it burn. I want to thank everybody for joining us. This has been an excellent show, excellent conversation. And I just want to leave us with this little take home. You know when you have a good meal and you can't eat your dessert, so you take it home with you? please do some reading tonight on the book of Malachi, the 2nd chapter. It's good to read the whole text so you can get it in context. But I just wanted to leave you with this because I was turning to look for something, and sometimes, no, not sometimes, more than often, the scripture tells you exactly what you want to hear, and then I'm going to leave it at that. Malachi, the 2nd chapter, basically, when you read it, it's talking to the priests, how they departed and corrupted. But here's what it says. It says, "O now, you priests, this commandment is for you. If you will not hear, and if you will not lay it heart to give glory unto the name of the Most High of hosts, I will even send a curse upon you, and I will curse your blessings. Yea, I have cursed them already, because you do not lay it to heart." Here's what the Most High said. He said, "But I will corrupt your seed, and spread dung upon your faces, even the dung of your solemn feasts, and one shall take you away with it." Right? I'm going to jump down. Please continue to read as it speaks about the priests, but it's going to go over to Judah. In the 8th verse it says, "But you have departed out of the way. You have caused many to stumble at the law. You have corrupted the covenant of Lewi, saith the Most High of hosts. Therefore have I also made you contemptible and base before all the people, according as you have not kept the ways, but have been partial in the law. Have we not all one Father?" That was a conversation tonight. "And hath not one God created us? Why do we deal treacherously?" Check it out. Listen good. "Every man against his brother by profaning the covenant of our fathers. Judah have dealt treacherously, and as an abomination is committed in Israel and in Jerusalem, for Judah hath profaned the holiness of the Most High, which he loved, and hath married the daughter of a strange god." And it goes on to say that the Most High will cut off the man that do this, the master and the scholar, out of the tabernacles of Jacob, and him that offer an offering unto the Most High. And please read the whole text. But this kind of sums up what we're talking about against law and preferences. This is not a new conversation, as we've heard from the beginning of the show, but it is one that really is on the Creator's radar of marrying the daughter of strange gods. It's a very serious issue. I want to thank everybody for coming in and having this conversation. May we continue to edify one another, be respectful as we are in this forum, and to realize that our personal preferences are not that personal when you're employed by the Creator. You can say, "I prefer to wear," shimmy, shammy clothes, but the Most High say 100%, so guess what? You got to do what the Creator says. So when we step into being servants of the Most High, some of our personal desires and preferences kind of fade away into the background. So once again, I want to thank everybody for tuning in. Give thanks for Sal for allowing me to create this topic or this conversation around healing, and may we continue to heal our relationships, our homes, our communities, and our nations. For everybody, have a blessed night. One.
All right, that was Sister Emunah right there. Just to let you guys know, we have a show on Thursday and also Friday. We have a debate lined up. Don't forget that on Global Media Inc. we have the preliminary debate on was Thursday, April 14th. We have Team KOJ versus Team Tanakh. We're going to do that preliminary debate for the first time on YouTube. That's on Global Media Inc. on YouTube. Again, we're going to have Brother Basim hosting that event and giving the questions out to both teams. And that official debate is going to take place on Debate Talk for You Thursday, April 28th at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. So you want to see the preliminary debate that's going to go down this Thursday on Global Media Inc. So check out Brother Basim's show. And if you want to call in, of course, or go in through Google Plus or Google Hangout to ask your questions, you can. And of course, keep us on the air, people. We need your support. If you want to go donate and help out and keep us on the show and ensure the longevity, go to PayPal.com. And of course, you can donate by using the email debatetalkforyou@gmail.com. We appreciate all the people out there that's already been donating and keeping us on the air. And I'll see you again next week, guys. Well, matter of fact, see you again Thursday. So next week, see you again Thursday. All right, take care. Continue to spread the word about Debate Talk for You Radio.
Daily